the lake.
Hot enough for you this year? Good year to be.
Too hot to go out on. You going out during the day on the boat?
We had a jet ski out today.
Or the jet ski, yeah.
Half in the water, that's fine. Swim every day.
You are enjoying it,
Yeah,
smart.
it's around the wall.
That sounds great.
Well, just slaving away. Taking pictures of people cutting down trees.
Yeah, right. I'm out there sweating doing this stuff.
Yeah.
He says it's a tough job. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, right.
It's a weird property. So this is.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I see it coming. Whatever.
this one, is this a battle? This one. Oh, that's, this one. Is this? I missed a couple meetings here, so. However you want to do it. I know these people are here for that dock that was.
We got a full house tonight, huh?
Are the neighbors talking more, or they're just worried about lawyers?
All right.
No, Babbage is not showing up. You know, his could be a little bit contentious, but I don't know. And the one with Pisano, I'm going to ask that an independent surveyor stake out the property because
Everybody's
no one
arguing.
knows where the hell the property is. You know,
I thought they had that stuff. There's nobody
there's
believes
no
it.
stakes. I was out
Stakes
there
were there.
twice. What?
I saw the stakes. The stakes were there.
I didn't see them
They were there last time when I went
a
there.
month ago.
Last.
Yeah, but they weren't there 2 days ago.
I mean, the survey shows.
I don't know. I don't know. I still want an independent survey because DiMartino is contesting it.
Right, I know.
The other side is not here tonight, and they wrote a letter saying that they're on record as, you know, leaving the
Docks
zone.
has fallen, is
Well, who's
already
here? Just
fall
the-
over anyway. There's one of those docks in there.
Pisano's aren't here?
They keep
If she
saying,
was
oh, it's
smart, she
fine.
should have left it alone, did what she did, and no one would have been the wiser. Because that whole court, that whole hole.
Okay.
It's right there. I went to St.
Oh, it's tight, yeah.
St. Anthony's with it.
It seemed like they're gonna come to some agreement. That's just the agreement, ship has sailed, right?
They're not here.
It's been great, must be a good business, must be a good business, you know, one survey.
Being used by his neighbor.
Right there. What, 2 months ago?
I didn't touch it, I know, except that.
Yeah, I saw the pins. I saw the pins too.
Because the owner of the jet ski should be, boat is on the list,
That's ridiculous.
like with Babbage.
Yeah, I know. I know we're paying it there.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The timing, if he would have kept his mouth shut and done nothing. No, he's. You know, he's got nothing to lose. He said he could keep his jet ski. You can't put your neighbor, you can't let your neighbor, and then I don't care what he does. I'm not going in there.
Let's go that way. Let's go that way. I think we should go that way.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
Listen to them.
Doesn't mean she won't listen to the minutes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the Inland Wetlands Water Commission, July 17th meeting to order. First order of business is the roll call. Stephen Molinelli, Chair, present. Russell Davenport, Vice Chair.
Present?
We have a vacancy for the Secretary. and a vacancy on the commission itself. Jeff Lippincott.
Present.
Frank Oliveri.
Present.
Gary Paganelli.
Present.
Mason Keyswater is no longer a member of the commission, so I'd like the minutes to reflect that. Please take his name off the commission as a member. Jamie Giantano was absent. Matt Clausen.
Present.
Okay, second order of business is the approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meetings minutes from Wednesday, June 12th, 24.
Second. Any amendments to the minutes? Okay, all those in favor of approval?
I have one abstention, I wasn't here.
Okay, one abstention. Frank Oliveri. Okay. Next order of business would be the agenda review. Jeff, please.
Just a few items on your desk for you tonight to add to your packets. We have a letter from Michelle Babbage's attorney requesting a 65-day extension. We also have a letter from the Hoffman family regarding the proposed project on Kingsbury from Sandy Drive 3. And lastly, you have a few photos, just updates of today regarding the situation at 15 Upson Avenue.
And there were two new items added to the agenda?
Yes, they're on the amended agenda, which was posted, but they are both new business. IWWC 24-22, applicant is John Carroll regarding 57 Main Street, which is Cappy's Cleaners. And also IWWC 24-23, applicant is Neil McGinnis of 512 West Wakefield Boulevard regarding their easement across 504 West Wakefield Boulevard.
Okay, thank you. Any other adjustments to the agenda from anybody on the commission? Okay, first order of business is a show cause hearing under public hearings. It's a cease and desist and restore order at 15 Upson Avenue. Marvin Gooden and Melissa Morgan. Trees and other vegetation have been cut, removed, and disturbed in the intermittent waterway and within 65 feet of the wetlands review area without a permit or an adequate soil and erosion control means or method. Hi, would you have a seat, please, and please introduce yourselves?
Thank you. I'm Marvin Garden.
Okay,
Good afternoon, Melissa Morgan.
okay, thank you. Do you know why you have a cease and desist order?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Jeff, you want to just go over it for the commission's purpose?
Sure. So I fielded a few phone calls from some neighbors in the area who informed us that trees were being cut down on the bank behind their home. Unaware that there was, I was unaware that there was an intermittent water course back there. We always check GIS, but this does not show on GIS. So, I could certainly see how some confusion might have been involved in this. But I went out, checked it out, did see that trees were being cut. It looked like more trees still were going to be cut. So in addition to mailing the letter, I hand-delivered a copy just to make sure that we stopped it until we had a chance to talk about it.
Okay, do you understand it was an unusual situation, and my sense is because of what Jeff just alluded to, that without the knowledge of wetlands, then, you're acting more innocently than intentionally, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
What would be the remedy, Jeff?
Well, I think first we should understand what the full scope of work is for what you're doing back there. I was given some plans by what the neighbors said, but I don't want to take it from them. We want to take it from you. So what is it that you intend to do there?
All right. First thing is to protect the land. The backyard it's not leveled, and when the rain falls, it wash away the soil. There's a stone wall there. The trees are rotten. I have pictures as proof. I was inside my home, the pool outside, and limb, just the breeze and the limb fell off. I have pictures that's proof, and I went to the town hall to get permit to cut the tree. They say they draw it up on the system and say we don't need a permit. I said, please make sure. I recently come here, I even get a fishing license just to go to fish. That's how I try to follow all rules and guidelines. I'm that type of person. So I went there, they said we don't need. Me said, please give me a letter to show that I don't need a permit to cut them, because all I hear, you need a permit. They said, no, we don't need it. And she go on the system, pull a copy for us, and show, we say, as long as it's in these perimeters, you don't need a permit to cut it. All right, hold on. I was planning to fix the stone wall, get the backyard level, because I have no front yard. That's my kids can enjoy. The vehicles cannot park on the road. And we only have a driveway to come in. So I'm making preparation for all of that. And to protect, to keep out the bears. In a sense, that the kids can be a little bit more comfortable. So that's all I'm doing. I want to protect the land, protect my property, protect my kids, and protect other people's property, because the trees that are there is over roughly about 34 feet long. And it's close to neighbor's garage, it's close to my house as well, and the limbs keep falling. That's why I went ahead to get all the necessary things. I was planning to put a garage around there to park the vehicle when it's snow time and all of that. They say we need permits and all of that, so I was preparing everything to come and get the permit for that. Even the fence, I have the fence there. They say I must know where my boundaries are. I get the boundaries lined out, marked out and everything, and I'm waiting to get that part sorted out to come and get the permit for that part, and then we move ahead step by step with your guys' permission. That's all I'm doing. Protect mine, protect others, and protect the land that I have. That's all.
Your house is the blue house.
Huh?
Your house
Yes,
is the blue
sir.
house. Roughly, where does your property line go to? I'm looking at this picture here.
Because it is cut. I'm sorry. It is, they might look at it, my land is cut. Here it is. This is how it is cut.
Where are we here? This is you here?
Yeah, this is me. This
Okay,
is,
this is where you go here.
yeah. No trees touch down, sorry. No trees touch down here. This is the tree that is the problem. I don't touch nothing else. There are young trees growing up around here. I wanna fix this stone wall here to protect the rest of land right here.
Which is right at the property line?
Yes, sir.
Which is that right there? That stone wall right
Yes,
there?
sir. I was cleaning it off because everything, brush come down and bank there. So
Yeah.
the only way to do that is to remove, because through the trees are so big and the roots are old, so they protect through that, and we have younger trees there. So all I'm doing is just cleaning it off to build back the wall that's there. Get all the permits to do it.
I saw you gave Jeff a survey of some kind.
Yes, sir.
We're making copies of that
No
survey
problem.
because we haven't seen it
No
yet.
problem, no problem.
Okay.
Because it is
Is
cut.
is the property staked out with markers?
Yes, sir.
So there are, it is
Yes, sir.
delineated?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's properly pegged up.
It looks like an honest mistake to
Yeah.
me. I mean,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I don't,
Yeah, I think, you know, as I said initially, you know, we're looking at it as an honest mistake, as we just said, but we can't allow it to continue
Okay.
now that we're aware of it and you're aware of it.
Okay.
So we're just gonna have to work together.
No problem.
And figure out a solution
No problem.
that will allow you to accomplish what you want if you're entitled to do that.
No problem.
And if not, then you know your limits of what you can and cannot do.
No problem.
Okay, so as soon as we get the survey back, we'll get a look at it.
No problem.
And, Jeff, is there any application on file as of now?
Not yet.
Okay,
May I?
sure, please.
So the plan was to put a retaining wall. One is halfway there, it's not fully, so when the rain wash over into the property behind us. So the plan is to put a retaining wall back there so that the water does not wash over even in the street. The water, the dirt, the soil is washing in the street. Put a retaining wall right back there, and then we're gonna dump the land and level it off. That's the plan.
Okay,
So
you're
this-
gonna have to articulate that plan in writing
No problem.
on an application.
Okay.
Okay, and your biggest concern is the proximity of the wetlands,
Yes.
where it is and where they are, and so to speak?
Yes,
And you're gonna have to meet with Jeff
no problem.
and work out, number one, staking out the property,
Yes, sir.
and then looking at wetlands and what Jeff and you will agree to what you can and cannot do.
No problem.
Jeff, anything to add to that?
I feel like I missed something while I was making the copies, but yeah, I mean, that's fine. I was just gonna say the future work that you're contemplating all needs to be permitted.
Yeah, I know.
Right, so when you start that application process, we'll work through all these kinks and make sure that it's being done the right way.
Quick question.
for
So the application should start to finish the trees?
Let me clarify something before, if we can. So, how many trees have you taken all the way down so far?
Two.
Okay, are those, and there's 3 more that you wanna take down that are marked here on this map?
Yes, sir.
You haven't pulled the stumps or anything? You haven't pulled the stumps?
No, no.
And those 3 that are still standing are dead?
Partial.
Yeah, I can see
Some of them
the,
are dead.
I can see the bark falling off of them in the picture, so,
It's still standing, so I say partial.
yeah, I know in years past, as long as you didn't remove the stumps, you were allowed to take down dead trees. I mean, this is a, you know, so, I mean, I don't, personally, I don't see any issues. If you finish taking the trees down, obviously you know you can't take the stumps out and do
No,
anything.
no.
But I mean, you got a mess in your backyard right now that you probably wanna clean up.
Clean up, yeah.
So,
But if you notice, I stopped everything. I
Yeah.
don't-
Yeah, no, and we appreciate that. So, but yeah, I mean, if,
Does the retaining wall that you're looking to install, is that reflected on this survey at all?
Yes, sir.
It
Yes,
is.
started.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can you point it out to me, please?
Right, we'll see, we'll see the round circles here.
the stone wall,
Yeah,
looks like just a
stone.
little circles on the property
Yeah,
line.
that indicates where the stone was. Is right here, right here.
Because it had to be, the stone wall had to be started because next door has a garage. It's the same water line that runs behind their yard. And they have a garage right on this stone wall.
And I see a stream running through
Yes.
that stone wall also.
Yeah.
I don't see the need for an application to take 3 more trees down. It's up to you guys.
Me personally, I think it's, the trees are hazard. He has the right to maintain his property. Take his trees down, you just don't have the right to do any excavation or build a wall without permit.
That's
Without
not,
that permit, I know that.
but that's not all they want to do.
But he's gotta go.
They can come back to us for that.
Yeah.
No, every step of the way,
Yeah.
you guys are gonna surely up to this.
That's why we didn't start shutting it because we know we had to get permits to build the
Permits, too.
garage because we came and asked first.
Okay, good. All right, so then you're understanding that you're going to meet with Jeff
Yeah,
and
sure.
fill out a permit as to what you need for us
Yes, sir.
and for the garage and anything else you may have to go
Yes, sir, I know.
somewhere else, but, you know,
But does he need the application for us to take these 3 trees down?
No,
no,
Clarify that.
No problem.
just so long as you don't take the stumps out.
No, stump is remains here.
Okay.
Anything else on the commission? Okay, thank you for coming and responding to the
Yep.
request. And please meet with Jeff sooner than later, and we'll move ahead with it.
Yeah.
Oh,
No problem.
Thank you.
Let me just, I'll grab your business card. All right.
Okay, next order of business is the public hearing for John Mills on behalf of Sandy Drive 3 LLC. The location is 240 Kingsbury Avenue, and the proposal is to put a new home in that area. once again, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Peter Diadio. I'm the manager of Sandy Drive 3. I have with me William Jackson, our soil scientist. And I have to apologize that I forgot my easel.
I've got one.
Oh, you got it, did you? Oh, great. That's great that you have one because I forgot it.
All right, Mr. Diadio, before you begin, just a question, and Jeff, you can, both of you answer it. Have all the appropriate notices gone out, the neighbors have notified and all of that?
Yes, they have.
Okay, very good, okay.
And just to, do we want to read the letter from the Hoffmans into the record, or just receive it?
This one that was on our desk this morning?
The one that was just
It's
brought
in
to
now, yeah, we'll get it in.
Okay.
Okay, I brought receipts of the public notice to the
Okay,
city.
thank you.
And I brought a copy with me. And I know this is a public hearing, so in the earlier meetings that we've met, I delivered 6 or 7 support letters. And I don't need to read them again, because I think we read them into the record. But they were from the neighbors that surrounding the lots. Our neighbor here on East Wakefield, our neighbor here on East Wakefield, our neighbor here on Kingsbury, our neighbor here on Kingsbury, another neighbor on Birch Rock. And you have copies of those, but just to mention for the
Okay,
public.
so long as you introduce that, and all of those neighbors that you indicated are supporting of your project.
That's right.
All right, and we have a letter, as Jeff alluded to, from Alan and Catherine Hoffman. They live at 231 Jewett Street in Winstead,
I'm familiar with them.
okay? And Jeff, do we have to read the entire letter in or just summarize it?
I'll read the whole thing if you'd
Go
like.
ahead.
Okay. Dated July 17th, 2024. Dear Wetlands Commission, we are unable to attend tonight's meeting, but would like to go on record in the issue of the Sandy Drive 3 LLC / John Mills / Peter Diadio on 240 Kingsbury Ave in Winstead. We live adjacent to the property in question. In 2005, we built our house. The area in question was wetlands, clearly delineated by the Wetlands Commission. Sometime after that, in the following year or so, the flags disappeared, and the land was slowly and systematically filled in and trees were removed. I believe the Wetlands Commission at the time was made aware that this was happening and put a stop to it. It sat for a few years, and then the filling in of the land and the leveling out and clearing of trees continued. Today, it is a cleared and leveled lot, although at times there is a body of standing water at the back right of the property with a bad smell. We have been made aware that Mr. Diadio has been telling people that we are on board with his proposed building project with the assumed goal of getting the others to agree. This could not be further from the truth. Mr. Diadio approached me and asked me if I wanted to see his plans for a garage with an apartment above it, and I replied that I didn't care to see it and wanted nothing to do with it. I don't believe it's right to be able to fill the wetlands and use this property for a building lot. Sincerely, Alan Hoffman.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's a surprise to me because I did meet with Alan, and he indicated that he supported it, the application. Perhaps he obviously didn't, but he indicated to me that he did. And I've known Alan for many years, and he's always seemed to support it. I'm surprised from his letter, quite frankly.
Is it accurate?
Well, no, it's not really accurate. In other words, part of it is accurate. You know, we have cut trees down, but we never filled wetlands. We marked the wetlands because when we initially bought the land and initially met with our wetlands officer out there, I'll think of his name in a moment. He met with me out there because there was no wetlands delineation at the time. We hired a soil scientist and delineated the wetlands. We provided copies of that information to the wetlands. And with a soil scientist, the wetlands officer asked us to put oak stakes and silt fence around it to be sure we didn't disturb the wetlands. and we haven't.
What was that timeframe?
That was,
Hoffman said he built in
'05, yeah, no, it was, let me see if I have that.
Do we have records of that stuff, Jeff?
No.
Yeah, there's a copy of it in, let's see. Let's see, his name's gonna come to me in a moment.
Was the statement, he mentioned here that the Wetlands Commission at the time was made aware of this activity,
No, I came to the Wetlands Commission.
and it was put to us, so you did come to the commission?
I
before?
did. I came to the commission, that's when we got permission to put those 2 containers in. And what we wanted was, we wanted a path to go from across the wetlands to the house we own on East Wakefield. And the Wetlands Commission denied us the path, and, you know, we didn't build the path. And, at that time, we marked the wetlands that are currently the same wetlands that were marked in the past, and have stayed out of it. So, so I'm surprised. I mean, that area that's continues to be wet in the springtime is the wetland area. The other area that we cut the grass twice a month is the area that was never wetlands. And did we cut the trees down? Yes, we did a little at a time, and again, mostly to support the building of 240 Per Track Trail, which is why we bought the lot. But we've never gone into the wetlands, and we marked the wetlands and delineated it and have stayed out of it. So-
How do you explain to me the justification of cutting trees down to support your property on Per Track Trail, which is probably 100, 200 feet to the left as you're looking at the lake from Kingsway of this? You're saying the water runs,
No, we cut the trees down because we stored building material there. And we had 2 containers there. We still have 1 container there. You know, we stored lumber, we stored dirt, we stored brownstone. If you notice, the brownstone for 240 Per Track Trail was all hand cut. It was hand cut on that lot. And it was, and so.
It was
we-
used as a staging ground.
staging
It
area.
was staging area, yeah. In other words, I didn't build on it, but we cut stone and we stored stone and we stored brick. And, you know, because as you notice, it's a tight lot where we are. And that without that extra area, it would have just been very difficult to build the property that we did there. And that's why we bought the lot. And we bought the road shortly thereafter. We helped improve the road, and then we bought the road from John Dew. And that's where our containers were. And they, actually, 1 container is still there. We removed the container because Jeff wanted us to, and because you know, what happens is that container, and then stuff stacked behind it, and so anyways. But we got rid of it, cleaned it up. And so I'm surprised, but whatever he wrote, he wrote.
Okay.
Because in other words, I met with him when I met with everyone. I didn't tell anyone that Alan supported it. Alan told me he supported it. He says, yeah, I don't support it, I support it, so I'm gonna move anyways, and he went on. But I just didn't go back to him to get a support letter. Well, I'm glad he sent the letter. I'm sorry that it wasn't in support. So,
He's directly behind you.
he's directly behind me.
He's
Matter
most
of fact,
affected by it.
well, he's the one that put the pipe in that crossed Jewett. You know, he piped that, well, I don't know if he did it, but it was during the construction of his house that the pipe was installed. And that was before me, so I wasn't there when the pipe was installed, but the pipe is partially on my lot, and which is where is the collection. If you look, well, let me point to it. So if you look at the wetlands area, which is here, the pipe is here. And this goes right on, well, it's partially on my lot. I didn't install it, but it was before me, and he built this in 2005. I think I bought this in 2000, I'm looking for the date. 2006 or 2007 or something like that. I might be wrong on that date, I'm sorry about that, but I definitely have it, just not here at my fingertips. So,
So there's a pipe in there that was to drain his property?
no, the water comes down from East Wakefield, across the road. If you notice, there's 2 different catch basins on each,
Okay.
that comes down through this road, into this wetland, and out through to Jewett, and then I had another lot over here, which we just some of the time, but only, you know, during spring or wet season, because it's not spring now, but it's probably still water in it. And then it goes out to the lake, you know, and crosses Wakefield over here. So this is a drainage of all this area that comes down and goes into this wetland, which is what made this a wetland. And so I had our current scientists look at it recently, and 15 years ago, staked it for the first time. And there's the stakes, and we kept the oak posts, and we kept it, we cut some trees, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and our wetlands enforcement officer came out at that time. And because they were worried, actually, I think, Stephen, did you come out? Well, I thought couple of the members came out because there was a report that I was still in the wetlands, which I wasn't. We chipped some trees, and I was asked at that time to take this pile of wood chips, I don't know whether they were here or they were here, and, you know, distribute them along the wetlands boundary to act as additional,
On your map, put your fingers on Speziali's property. I wanted to get it, okay, and the other one?
oh, sorry, Spezy Alley.
He's got 2 pieces,
No,
right?
no, he has one. I
A
pointed
garage?
to the wrong one. One garage here, Rollo's properties here. I mean, they're both very close to me.
And then
This property,
Perch Rock Trail is to your,
Birch Rock Trail is right
right
here.
down there.
Yeah.
Okay, and the silk fence that's up there
Silt fence is here.
yesterday is the one you're referring to?
The silt fence is, well, not the same silt fence. I've replaced it 5 times. I don't know. I put it up most recently because it was deteriorated.
In the same location where it
The
belongs?
same location. We drove oak stakes, in, you know, tall ones, 6-foot tall ones, to make sure we didn't lose the wetland. And I promised to do that to our wetland scientist, 2 scientists ago. His name's gonna come back to me in a moment. And that's when we first delineated the wetland. Again, because there was no wetland delineation in the town hall. There was no map. But when he came to visit out there, and we were talking about a path, I wanted, at that time, I wanted to make a path to go here, and there was no delineation of wetlands. They said, no, we don't want you, we want you to get a soil scientist and see if there's any wetlands, which we did. And we flagged it, and we silt fenced it. And he says, no, I don't want you to go there, find another way. And we have another way because we own more land over here. It's not the right path, but it's a path. And outside of the wetland again. And because my mother-in-law lived here, and it was just easy for them.
Frank, you wanted to say
Yes,
something?
I wanted to say something. The water course you're talking about, a year ago, we had a proposal here for the house renovation on Perch Rock, where they were required to remove the material and restore the water course that came into Perch Rock by the pump station,
Right.
by the sewer pump station.
Right.
That's the same water course we're talking about. That's where it outlets into the drainage system into the lake.
That's a ways down there.
Well, it's maybe 250 feet
Yeah, it's-
towards East Wakefield.
It just
from where
follows
we're
behind
coming.
all the houses.
Yeah, the gray house now, yeah. But that's the wetlands, the water course that, as part of their proposal, they have to go back and restore.
And
We
that
wanted to
wa-
clean it up.
Yeah, clean it up, yeah.
That water course runs regularly?
Yes, well, Jim, when he was here a couple of months ago, he explained that the water course starts on East Wakefield through 2 catch basins on East Wakefield and drains through this whole property system.
Starts over here.
Right.
Mostly road water.
Right.
Comes down through here, meanders. Actually, it mostly comes like here. And then it goes into this pipe and goes into here. And this is where the wetland is. And then it collects and it goes through this pipe on Allen's property. Goes across Jewett Street into the property that we just sold to the folks on East Wakefield. I'm sorry, Birch Rock. Because they were closest and they have that Connex container that they want to move. And so we sold them that piece, and then it goes on to the pump station somewhere around there.
Yeah, right.
So we're not interfering with that wetland, and we never interfered with it. I put cedar chips up when I was asked, we put silt fence around it, and we stayed away from it. As we're in this plan, staying away from it.
You found no.
Bottom line is, so you want to put a facility 5 or 6 feet away from wetlands?
Correct. In the upland, but, we'll be protecting the wetlands even more so, because we'll build this nice facility facility here, we'll create the rain garden. We've drained it so it goes away from the wetlands, and, you know, we'll continue to protect the wetlands, which we've done over 15 years now.
Mr.
Jackson.
John Mills.
No, Jackson. It's William Jackson. John Mills is an engineer.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, just introduce yourself and your title.
Yes, for the record, my name is William Jackson. I'm a registered soil scientist in Connecticut, and my office is in the town of Berlin.
All right, he just made a statement. Can you attest to that statement as it being accurate, inaccurate?
Which statement are you referring to?
You want to state it again?
We've got a silt fence up around the area, and we'll continue to protect the wetlands, and we're draining away from it, and we're creating the rain gardens here to collect any bad water or surface water or impervious area or nutrients that would normally be collected and may go into the wetlands, and to protect the wetlands for now on.
And the proximity of the house or the structure will not interfere with that?
It will not interfere. It is, the corner of the house is 6 feet away from the wetlands. There's no question about it, but we are grading away from it and protecting the wetlands, and we're glad to plant certain vegetation if you like. We've got vegetation proposed on the plan, but if you want additional vegetation, we'd be glad to do that. That's the, I guess, what they want you to comment.
I have a
Comment on his statement?
Yes, looking at the proposed grades on the plan, I see that the site is configured to drain in a northerly direction towards the rain garden and away from the wetland.
And the house will not, or the structure will not interfere with that drainage?
As long as the leaders are directed, you know,
The leaders catch,
precipitation that-
the leaders are gonna catch roof water, not groundwater.
Well, you'd have,
Yeah, the home, on the plan, it notes that the home is a slab on grade. And, so,
there's no footing drains,
I'm sorry,
so there wouldn't be footing drains,
I don't.
or would there be still footing
There
drains?
could be, but there's no collection of groundwater. But there will be drains, Mr. Chairman, from the roof leader to the rain garden. So in other words, we're not, and that's on the plan, we're not depending only on the grading to keep our roof water going to the rain garden. We're piping to the rain garden. In other words, the downspouts.
How much of the runoff that Frank alluded to earlier from East Wakefield through that 200 feet area and coming down into your property, how much of that, percentage-wise, will the containment area between the pipes and the area that natural flow is, how much of that will be affected or not affected by what you're doing?
Oh, it won't be affected at all. But most of it collects there and goes through the pipe. But nothing that we're doing on this plan is gonna affect that at all. All that water's gonna continue in its same natural course. It's gonna continue to pool into the wetland, and certain times of year, like right now where all this rain is, this becomes a wetland. And it becomes, you know, there's water that collects there. And the smell is probably the musty, decaying smell of a wetland. But when it dries, the smell goes away, but we're not touching that effect. If you can see, we're not doing anything over here, which is, you know, where the water comes down from. All our construction is here, and we're creating this rain garden as a depressed area so that our yard and our driveway and everything will collect here rather than going towards the wetlands. And all these grades, if you notice, 904, 902, 900, they graduate towards Perch Track Trail. And currently, I have to say, there is a continual flow of groundwater that's not coming from East Wakefield that percolates up through the ground around here. And we're not, I mean, that does not affect the wetland. It's not in a wetland. It comes out of the ground and it runs down the road.
Matt, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just had a couple questions. Looking at the map here. In your calculations for impervious coverage, I see 1,500 square feet is what you're basing it off of. You did not include any impervious coverage for your driveway?
No, those are pervious pavers, impervious pervious pavers.
So your proposed driveway is a
Sorry.
12-inch layer of washed 3/4 inch stone. You only have a pervious paver walkway proposed on here, not a driveway.
Is that what's proposed? I believe so. Yeah.
Yep.
That, and what's also in that calculation, Matt, is this little shed that's not on my property. I mean, it's not my shed, but it's
Well,
part of the.
I thought you took that out of the calculations based on the modifications you made from last month.
Well,
That's on the right of way.
Okay, then I must have.
Okay.
My engineer did it, so I'm sorry about that. I thought he calculated it.
No, so the way you have this proposed is a impermeable driveway, not pervious.
Mr. Diadio, for our purposes,
Yep.
if you were to take 2 wheelbarrows of rock and throw it around a tree, that's pervious. If you were to take those same 2 wheelbarrows of rock and put them on a driveway, by the compacting of the weight of the cars and the vehicles going over that, make that impervious. So we consider a driveway, the way you're talking about filling it, as part of your impervious coverage.
So I was advised, and maybe illegitimate, or maybe I misunderstood, but I was advised by staff that you're changing the regulation, and if we provide stone with the same kind of calculation and the same installation process as pervious pavers, then they would count that as pervious.
We have to go by the regulations that are in front of us right now, not something that's assumed gonna be changed in the
Well,
future.
I'll put pavers if that's what you like.
So is it this whole, almost the width of the house that comes out?
It's this area here. Let me just take
Okay.
a look, I'm sorry. It would be this area here, so we will add 25 feet by, if this is 40 feet,
So not the part that flares out then?
no, it would be just the area on that lot. I mean, actually, if we could do the calculation, yeah, I'd probably still fit into the 15%. But if you require me to put pavers there, we could.
Well, I'm not requiring you to do anything, that's up to you, but if you can meet your 15%, that's your option.
Okay.
It's not included in the way you have it written up right now.
That's correct, because that was the way that,
And also, do you have any alternatives? Because as part of the public hearing, you have to provide alternative means for rain gardens or anything,
Well,
other options?
that's exactly what we did. In other words, by creating the rain gardens, I do have some notes on here, hold on. These are the best alternatives. Let's see, I have a note here. Let's see if I brought it with me. Excuse me, guys, 1 second. I have my notes of best practices and alternatives, but where did I put it? So in creating the plan, we believe this is the highest and best use with other alternatives because we developed it without the rain gardens. But by putting the rain gardens in and following LED procedures, which really gives me, I think, 20% according to your regulations. Of course, that's the zoning regulations, not wetlands, but I believe we conform with what's required. And again, I'm at 7.8% because we took out, where before we were at 13%. We took out the areas that when I was here before, we were asked to take out. First, we took out the first area with meet the frontage, we meet the setbacks, we meet the impervious area. And if you'd like, Matt, we can recalculate that as if this was stone or if it was pervious pavers. And we, you know, we'll comply.
I think we need to clarify that to approve it. I mean,
Okay, then you
And
can
then-
make that a condition.
and obviously, the additional discharge into this rain garden area, the overflow is gonna go back into the wetlands.
Well, only by virtue of ground charge. It's not going into the wetlands, but it's gonna recharge the ground.
Well, if we get a significant storm and it overflows the rain garden, you're showing it discharging back into the wetlands.
I think based on the topography, it would go into the
Next
the
door.
homeowners who complained about the
Yeah,
project.
well, it shows an overland relief.
Well, I believe that's required for a rain garden.
But what I'm saying is it's gonna discharge back towards the wetlands. If,
But what's this, it would be calced off a storm cycle, wouldn't it? It'd be calced off like a 100-year storm cycle
I
for
guess
the
100 year.
discharge.
oh, 100 year,
Over.
100 year is.
Well, you know, I mean,
10-year
whatever
storm,
that
yeah.
is, right? So it's gonna be calculated, I mean, we're really just talking about a roof,
That's
right?
right,
I mean,
a
that,
roof.
we're talking about gutters into a roof, so I don't know how it was originally calculated, but I would imagine it would take a huge storm to fill that size rain garden. I don't know how much it's been, I don't know how it's been calculated, right? I mean, I guess we could get more information about that, if that's a concern, that it's not calc, that it's not big, the rain garden's not big enough, meaning that it will eventually overflow.
Well, I wanna
As-
say, even though it will overflow, and there is an overflow there, but you know, by gravity, if you have that much water, it's not coming just out of this rain garden. It's coming from here, it's coming from here, it's coming everywhere, and it's gonna head towards the lake. It's not gonna go back. There's an overflow, sure, but even the overflow, my wetland is 899, the overflow is 902. So you're right, I guess once everything becomes deep enough, this fills in, but it's really during a major storm event. It's not because of the overflow of the rain garden. The rain garden, I mean, you gotta look, it's gonna go onto my neighbor's property here, the Benjamin property at 899. It's gonna head in that direction, then it's gonna go onto Perch Rock Trail, which is at 894. So, that's where a storm event, and we do have storm events on this road. I own the road next door as well, and the water pours right.
What did it look, do you remember at all what it looked like last summer? I mean, last summer were huge rain events.
Yeah, when the rain events happen.
We had some that were 4 inches.
It pours
or
down
more
this
in a
road,
storm.
and it pours down the road next door, and it causes ruts. And I go and fix it, because I have a little machine that I go fix. And my neighbors don't like the ruts, and so I fix them.
And to me, it seems like that whole area in a big storm is gonna get wet, that the rain, I mean, the leaders going into it aren't, in my mind, contributing to that huge volume of water and subsurface groundwater that's flowing through that whole area. I mean, it's always very wet in there. So, I mean, I personally think the rain gardens, was a good proposal, it is taking care of the roof area that now is in a sense impervious.
And Matt, even if we do calculate that, it's shown it adds 1,200 square feet, which adds, 1 or 2%. I can do a recalculation for you.
I was just curious,
Yeah.
because like
In
I
other
said,
words, I get to go 20%, I'm at 7.8.
if you're approved for it, right, or do you automatically approve?
If LID features are part of the plan, they buy themselves an extra 5%.
Yeah, and I have the calculation right here. So the calculation for the rain garden, the required area for rain garden is 1,500 square feet. We made 1,780 square feet. And also, of course, our engineer says it could be less depending on the soil types. So we use the maximum, right? And I've got that calculation for that impervious area as well. Let me just refer to it. So the lot area that we're using for, after we took the road out, is, lot area exclusive of easement and wetlands is 19,052 square feet. So if I take that 19,052, and even, I mean, I can give you both 20 and 15%, but the 20% 1,810 square feet. So let me do that again. That can't be right. 19,052, 20%, yeah, 3,810 square feet. So even if I add 2,000 square feet, which is not, it's only 1,250, you know, that still puts me well below the pervious area allowed. And I can do that recalculation and resubmit it, or we can make that a condition of approval if you want us to recalculate that.
Before you go and proceed into a condition of approval, I'm not a fan of conditions.
Okay.
You know, my feeling is put it on paper, show it to us in black and white, and it's not subject to a condition that we have to pay attention to.
That's no
It's gotta be
problem.
done,
We can
anyway.
recalculate it.
All right. Gary, anything?
No, I don't personally see a problem with the plan. I don't see a problem with the rain garden. It's not different than the rain gardens that are at the lake. If you get a lot of water in a rain garden at the lake and it overflows, where does it go? It goes to the lake, goes to the wetlands. Their overflow is going to the wetlands. That's what it's supposed to do. Your area, the roof area is only taking up the space of the house, which would have been the rain underground to start with. You know, so I don't personally see a problem with it. I see, as long as we can get the driveway into pavers, pervious pavers, make sure the calculation is right.
I mean, at the 20%, you're allowed 3,800 square feet. You got a lot of room.
Double what we have.
Right.
Yeah, so I could put out another 1,500 square feet, but I don't want to. But in other words, if we want to calculate that as pervious, I can give you that calculation, and we're still, I think I just did the math, about 9%.
The road, whatever you wanna call it, going from your property down toward Perch Rock, what's gonna be the surface of that road?
I'm gonna leave it the way it is, except for the area that I'm required to.
That's required by, the driveway permit. So everything is gonna stay the same there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll improve it over time, but only to the advantage of everyone.
Is there a need on the part of the commission to have an independent engineer review this plan when it's finalized?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That's the question.
I don't think so.
No.
Matt?
No, I think we're,
Do what the rest of the neighbors have to say.
Yeah, I think this would be an improvement.
All right,
here.
are there any other questions on the part of the commission? Because we'll open it up to anybody in the audience. Do either of you have anything to add before, to the commission right now?
No,
Okay.
it's fine.
Is there anybody in the audience that wants to participate? Yes, come on forward. Would one of you just give up a chair?
Sure.
And just introduce yourself and tell us your address.
Shane Centrella, 217 Perch Rock Trail.
Can you just, for Rick, can you point on that, because I don't know these numbers that well, where you are?
We're directly in front of him. So if
It's
you
not-
were, there's two lots that go in front of his lot.
Okay,
My sister-in-law owns the lot in front of it, and then we own the lot in front of that.
so
if
it's
you
not
were-
on this drawing at all?
There.
Oh,
yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
So, yes.
May I show them, Shane?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Right
So,
there.
the Benjamin lot is owned by her sister. I met with the sister out there the other day. And
met with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And,
Right here.
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Right on.
So, why I'm here, I thought it was a little bit disingenuous, the way he shared about the support letters. Because the only contact that we received, he told you about everybody but us. And he had a conversation with my mother-in-law, not us, while she was watching my two little ones, about the fact of how he was going to dig up our front yard because it was part of his property, and that he was going to be putting in a well or digging up our front yard. So that's how I found out about that, not from you personally, Mr. Diadio. So it brought a little bit of concern to me. We already have, water issues as you would around the lake. So yeah, that's great about the rain garden. Hopefully that helps with some water diversion, but I would see that there may be more issues raised more water coming onto our property that wouldn't otherwise need to be. But again, just as far as he notified all these other neighbors, but never came to speak with us personally, or even provided us with a letter, or, I just thought it was interesting, he talked to everybody else around us. And just as Mr. Hoffman had, wrote a letter of displeasure, but even though he said he was in support, I just thought that was interesting. So really, I'm just here today to kind of put that on record and just to, if there are any issues going forward. And as far as boundary lines, because we were told from him, I believe you had said to my mother-in-law that there was parts of our property that aren't our property and are his property. So we were just notified, again, from my mother-in-law, not from him, that there would be parts of our property, or that we assume are our property at this point. So we'll have to have that surveyed, that he would be digging up. So it was news to us. So that would be my point of concern.
For clarity,
Yep.
your sister-in-law?
Sister-in-law owns a property directly behind.
Is the immediate neighbor of the abutting, of his
Yep,
property?
exactly.
Okay.
So she just purchased that property.
And she's of the same opinion as you are.
Yeah, yep, she shares that same opinion, so.
But there wasn't a
She's out
recent
of town.
survey that was done when you bought the property, or do you have, are there any pins? Do you have records of any of the?
I mean, he just notified my mother-in-law, like I said, and we haven't had a survey done
Right.
since we purchased the property.
They're
So, that was concerning to me that he said it would cut into our property and he would be digging up our front lawn, to be putting in, I don't know, you maybe said a well or something of that manner. But, again, it was unclear, but it was never spoken to me.
To your knowledge,
Yeah,
are there any pins delineating your sister's property line touching Mr. Diadio's property line? Is there anything
I
there?
believe there are some. I haven't, she's out of the country right now, so I haven't spoken to her recently, and this was a purchase that was just
Okay.
done in the past month, I believe. She just purchased about a month ago. So, but there are property lines, yeah, there's flagged, but do I know if it's official? I don't.
Yeah, I get it.
So, but yeah, it's kind of delineated. But yeah, that just, again, the fact that all these, because I heard the previous hearing, or the time he was here previously, and about the letters of support, and I just found it interesting that he kind of went to everyone else, but he failed to come see us, and he's seen us other times, but didn't share any of that information with us
No, I'm
personally,
glad you hear
because
that.
there would probably be he knew there might be an issue, so,
Good, okay.
that's
Thank-
all. Just
No,
wanted to state
thank you.
that,
It's
so,
important.
yeah,
Thank you, Shane.
thank you.
With that, potentially,
Is there anybody else in the audience that has any interest or involvement with this project? Hi, Mr. Diadio, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, and Shane, I'm sorry that I didn't meet you, but I did go to your golfing area, the pro golf, and I did meet your wife, and I met with your wife and your sister and your mother-in-law. And to clarify, we don't plan to disturb your driveway at all, and that's what I clarified with her. I'm sorry, so may I point this
Go ahead.
to Shane? So, the trees that are here, so our land, and we're not gonna disturb it at all. Matter of fact, when the previous people owned the house, we allowed their driveway to remain here. And I wanna fix it up a little bit when we do this apron, because as you know, those brick pavers are caving in somewhat. But your brick pavers come onto our road, and we don't, our land, we're not asking you to move them one bit. And I will help you and fix this up when we put this driveway in, because you know the water runs down this road sometimes through the year, and run in front of Frank's lot, and, not constantly, but during rainy season, right? And so we're not, gonna disturb you at all. Matter of fact, we'll help you a little bit here, and I indicated that to both you, and your wife said, oh, terrific. I didn't meet with her personally. I went to her store, but she wasn't there, but I ended up knocking on your door, and she was home. Now, you're right, I did meet with your mother-in-law as well. And I think it was a few days earlier, because I was out here, we were mapping out the connection to the water and the sewer, right? So I didn't wanna not speak to her, I'm in
All right,
my
Mr.
yard.
Mr. Diadio, okay.
But at any rate, I met with your sister as well, sister-in-law, and she indicated this would be great for your kids, and I thought it would be great. And if you need help with the fence, or you need help with cutting trees or anything like that, we're glad to help, but we're not gonna affect you in any way, and that was a misunderstanding.
All right, thank you.
I think it was expressed that way, but thank you. But I'm sorry that it was misunderstood.
All right, I'll reintroduce the question. Do we need an engineer to look at this project and agree or disagree or make suggestions regarding what's the proposal in front of us? I personally think that with the scope of what's going on and the convoluted piece of property with the wetlands and touching lots of other properties and affecting other properties, I personally think I would support the use of the employment of an engineer, but that's my own individual opinion. Is there anybody else, or you guys are happy with being silent?
There's 3 abutting neighbors that are concerned. I think it would be a good idea with this new information, again, 3 separate abutting neighbors, that we get a third party to verify all this stuff. And see if there is an easier way or some other way to dry that street up.
Well,
Anybody else?
and that's not really in question. I mean, I somewhat agree, but drying the street up isn't really in question. It's really how
Is there
his
an-
property building of that house is gonna affect
Everybody.
everybody. And that maybe people think that don't believe that the rain garden is going to function the way it does, or that somehow subsurface groundwater would be now directed in a different way that would affect their property. I mean,
Possibly an independent engineer.
yeah,
would figure this out.
I do somewhat agree that it seems that to do our due diligence, it would be proper to have a third party look at that. I don't think it's gonna change anything personally, but
I think it
don't know the
shows,
site that well, but
I think it shows transparency on our part, and that we do listen,
And we're being thorough.
and we're being value neutral. Let the engineer tell us what's right about the project and what may not be right, and maybe a suggestion or two, maybe not. Do we need it surveyed also?
Well, this survey was not stamped, it was signed by your guy, but it's not stamped here.
We have,
Talk louder.
we definitely have a stamp survey recent by, I delivered to.
That's why I didn't bring it up. I figured
Yeah,
it's
that we
the form
delivered to
signed.
the city, that we recorded on the land records by Peter Keith.
Okay.
You know, and he's done all the survey work over there.
Okay.
And I know he's got, nails out there. But, and we're not disputing any encroachment. We're saying, fine, let it stay, so.
All right, so we have a survey, so we are in favor of it, an independent engineer?
I think so.
All right, Jeff, you can make that arrangement?
I can.
Okay, is there anything else that Mr. Diadio has to provide us with prior to that?
Well, if you're gonna make any changes to the driveway, as discussed, we would just need the finalized plan. That's gonna be up to you, because, you have the numbers to work with, so it's your call.
We'll just do the recalculation and calculate that into the pervious area, so instead of being 7.8, it'll be 8.3 or something.
Okay, so just, give us that update, and that'll be what the review will be on.
But also, that's better for, after the
Everybody.
project's done, okay, this is what we got approved for, and this is what we provided.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And also, you've already checked with Public Works, obviously, about doing the tie-in and all that.
They're worried that there's no capacity, and so they aren't planning to do any improvements.
I'm talking about your sewer,
Yeah, no, we're all set.
sewer and water line is
Sewer and
done,
water.
okay?
Yeah, those calculations, those elevations, and those inverts are from,
You have city water there?
yes, city water and city sewer.
How deep
Is
is it?
there a,
It's right on that map. It
is
shows
there a
you the invert.
is there a sewer line going up to the project, to the property now, or no?
It's on Birch Rock Trail.
It's on Perch Rock Trail,
Yes.
so you have to tie into it?
Correct.
Okay. All right, do you know where that sewer line is going to run?
I do, yeah.
Okay,
It's,
it's on the map,
it's
it's on the survey.
Yep,
Good.
here and here,
How is it coming down your property is the question.
right down the property.
right down the old driveway.
So there's no sewer in any of these spots here?
There's sewer on, Birch Rock. Birch Rock has a sewer.
Wakefield.
But these are not connected to the city sewer?
The existing
No,
building,
Kingsbury, no.
the existing buildings that do not
Well,
belong
no,
to you.
excuse me, no.
Does Rulo's have?
Rulo has
has water and
connection.
sewer?
Yes, Rulo, no, I don't know if he's got water, he might, but he connects, let me see right here, let me look at this property here, okay. Rulo connects through an easement from the old casino land. And as a matter of fact, he's got a clean out right here.
And Speedy Alley?
No, I don't believe he does. No, but when, he will connect, when I build this, this water and sewer, he plans to connect. Matter of fact, I think I show it here. I show the connection.
All right, again, make sure whatever you're going to submit to Jeff within the next week or so is complete, so that when the
Well, that's
engineer.
fine. The only, I mean, let me just clarify my point, make sure I'm not making an error. But what you want is this area calculated into impervious. Right? I know it's pervious, but you want it to be impervious because your current regulation shows it that way.
Yeah, if you can meet the 15 or 20%, you don't have to show it as pervious. You can, it's up to you. If you wanna put pervious pavers.
As impervious, I'm sorry. I will calculate this as stone as an impervious surface.
If you're gonna leave it as stone,
Yeah.
yes, it has to be
That's what we
impervious.
prefer. So we'll calculate that as impervious surface, so that's the only change that I believe that is required.
Okay, the stone is impervious. You're gonna put 3/4 inch stone down? That's impervious.
Yeah, and he believes it's within his, he still
It'll
makes the
still will be
calcs.
within it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got like,
Okay.
brings me from 7.8 to 8.3, it's a very small change.
And the only thing I would ask is just be sure that the stakes that are in place for the wetlands are in place so that an engineer, a stranger to the project, can look at it and see it clearly.
I'm pretty positive that it is, and Jim inspected it, William inspected it within the last, how long?
Well, last month.
Last month.
Again, just, you know,
Yeah. He came out before our last meeting to be sure that everything was in order.
okay, so is there a motion to continue this public hearing?
What do we got? Motion to continue IWWC 24-10, John Mills on behalf of Sandy Drive LLC, 240 Kingsbury Avenue. New proposal, new home on Kingsbury Avenue. Second.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gary seconded, are we gonna have a full vote?
All those in favor? Unanimous? Okay, thank you very much.
Peter?
The next order of business is another public hearing, application 24-18. The applicant is George Finlinson at 162 East Wakefield Boulevard. And the project is to remove old wooden dock and replace it with a new 40-foot long by 5-foot wide aluminum dock, and to permit existing boat lift and jet ski lift. For the record, introduce yourself, please.
I am George Finlayson, owner of 162 East Wakefield.
Thank you.
Just a quick clarification. I'm trying to put a 4-foot wide dock in, not a 5-foot wide.
That's legal. You wrote five, my agenda says 5 foot.
Yeah, I noticed that showing on the agenda.
Okay,
The
thank you.
orig-
So it's a 4 foot. We'll note the correction.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out to us. Any concerns or issues with the proposal from the commission?
I do have a letter of support that probably is in your file.
Okay, that's from your neighbor?
Our neighbor who abuts, and where he actually uses our jet ski lift. So, he's the one who's supporting the project to go forward in its current position. And I submitted a copy, so you guys should have it. If you don't, I didn't bring any extra copies, but I can read it.
No, it's in there. It was in our pack.
Yeah. Proper notification went out regarding this?
Yes.
Okay. All right, anybody have any concerns? pictures when I visited your property.
Oh, you were the one? Okay.
Yes, your wife was there, I believe?
Yes, you're right.
And, one of the concerns that the commission has is, the use of your jet ski lift. The language in our ordinance says that the owner of the house and the permitted jet ski lift or boat lift or whatever else has to be consistent with the owner. Okay, so you're the owner, the jet ski lift is yours. The only vessel that can go on that has to belong to you,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Doesn't belong to me.
So do you wanna leave your application with the jet ski lift in place, which we can consider granting? But we can't consider it being used by your neighbor with your permission. Only because there has to be consistency between the owners of both,
I get it.
okay?
Frankly, I don't intend to own a jet ski, at least until my kids get a lot older, or grandkids get a lot older, so. And this is sort of an older jet ski ramp, so I don't mind removing it or trying to give it to my neighbor or whatever. You know, so, I mean, if the application is going to live or die by the jet ski, then I'm getting rid of the jet ski thing, so, but I get what you're saying, so.
Anybody else, anything?
Well, we have some currently outstanding issues with ownership, non-ownership of boats, or boats that are being stored at other people's docks.
Yes.
And it's a marina issue, so that's in our regulations.
Not a concern for
Not,
me.
not the
Let
necessity,
me-
not the necessity of the jet ski lift, or the issue of the jet ski lift, but the issue of somebody else's use.
Ownership of the jet ski.
So you could actually be renting that jet ski lift to your neighbor.
Yeah.
Therefore causing it being a marina, and.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not renting, but,
Yeah, no, you're not.
Ju-
no,
Just for clarity, you could leave it there
yes.
and just say to your neighbor, I'm sorry, you can't put your jet ski on top of it anymore.
I'm probably gonna give him the jet ski lift then.
Just be careful though, because if you give him the jet ski lift, he's gotta come in with an application.
Yep, I
Okay?
figured that, yep.
So let's be clear on that.
Well, then what would happen, if he doesn't want it, doesn't wanna come in, is part of this project, I would probably have the contractor remove that I will have the contractor remove the jet ski lift. So I'll give my neighbor the option, does he want it? Does he have to go forward with you guys? Or no, and then when the project occurs, I'm gonna take the jet ski lift out of there, because I don't want it.
We can make that a condition.
Is that-
We can make that a condition, right?
What?
That if the neighbor won't put his jet ski on it, that
If
he can leave it?
he wants it part of his application, it's in the littoral boundary. We're gonna consider that, do we want to approve it or disapprove it? If he takes it out, that's the end of that question.
So the only issue is, if he gets it approved, his neighbor just can't park his jet ski.
Correct.
Just a quick clarification, though. Right now, my neighbor is probably in a position where he can't just say, what am I gonna do with my jet ski? So there's gonna have to be some, hopefully, there's gonna have to be some tolerance for timing and when, this whole, either he puts one in or something, but that would, but I don't wanna be in violation the instant you guys approve.
No. I think you were forthright coming to us and describing the accuracy of what you were doing. Unfortunately, you opened up a box for us that, we're not happy about, but that's the ordinance.
It
Jeff-
is what it is.
Jeff, any response to his concerns? Can we sit on it?
Is from an enforcement standpoint?
Yeah.
By the time this is all said and done, the season's nearly over. It's gonna come out of the water at the end of the year, and then it's your neighbor's problem. He's either gotta get a jet ski lift via application or whatever he wants to do. I don't think you should put conditions on him for what his
No,
neighbor
no.
might do in the future.
No.
Yeah, okay.
I just don't wanna be in violation, cause he's gonna park it there for a little while longer.
So you're saying to us, I think you're saying to us, that you want us to move ahead where you're gonna remove the jet ski lift
Sure.
out of the water, and we're gonna consider approving just the application without the jet ski lift.
I would be happy with that.
Okay. So now let's get back to the other part of it. You want to remove the wooden dock and replace it with a new 40-foot long by 4-foot wide aluminum dock and permit the existing boat lift.
Correct.
Okay. Your boat lift, I believe, also is in the littoral boundary.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak on behalf of this issue regarding the littoral boundary of the boat boat lift? All right, on the part of the commission, do we have any problem with permitting it?
No?
You have a letter of support
Yeah.
from the neighbor it affects, so.
All right. Any concerns at all then? All right, do we have a motion for approval?
No, we gotta close the public hearing.
Oh, sorry, yes. Anybody else? We'll close the public hearing. We're gonna close the public hearing, and then we'll have one more public hearing, then when we get into old business, we'll vote on your
Okay,
proposal.
so I saw I was on old business, I wasn't sure if I was staying for both, so yeah.
You want our-
I guess I should stay then.
You want our answer? Okay, so we're gonna close the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Did we have a first and a second on closing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing of Inland Wetlands 24-18. The location is 162 East Wakefield Boulevard, and it's the removal of an old wooden dock and replace it with a new 40-foot by 4-foot wide aluminum dock, and to permit the existing boat lift. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing? It's unanimous? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next public hearing is 24-20. The applicant is Maureen Pizzano. The address is 148 East Wakefield Boulevard. And the proposal is to install a 30-foot dock and a boat lift.
Good evening, Maureen Pizzano, 148 East Wakefield Boulevard. Proposing the 30-foot dock, a new one, and the boat lift, the existing boat lift. Got it.
Okay, my understanding is that with you tonight is the surveyor of the property. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Would you ask the gentleman or lady to please come forward? For the record?
My name's Steve Zajac, I'm the Chief of Surveys for Cole Civil Survey.
Okay, and can you tell us if you conducted a survey and what your findings were?
We conducted a survey of the property and we filed a map with the property line decision and the standing line.
Did you stake out the property?
Yes, we did.
Okay, because I was out there
We spoke yesterday.
yesterday.
The one on the Zimmerman side was there, the one on the Deemer side, I'm just gonna be totally honest, with respect for her looking at that all summer, but there is a little pin there.
Again, we couldn't find that little pin. I'm not saying it's not there, I'm saying we looked and neither of us saw it. I think this commission has struggled with this application several times previously, and we are presently in the same confused state that we were when the applicant, I think you withdrew twice already, at least once. And a big part of what we'd like to know is factually Mrs. Pizzano's property line, both on the side with DiMartino and the other side with the Zimmermans. the Zimmerman side of the property seems to be non-contentious.
Correct.
The other side of the property appears to be contentious. So, you know,
I mean, this is something that I didn't want, but since I was applying to get a deck and a boat lift, I had to get an updated survey. And lo and behold, this is, I mean, I have to see it through a little bit, I just cannot just ignore it.
no,
Okay.
you know, we
To
wanna,
whatever the outcome comes.
yeah, we wanna rule with facts,
Exactly.
you know, rather than I say, he said, she said kind of thing. Anybody on the commission have any questions? Let's see if we can keep our questions first on the survey and then the application itself.
I don't have a drawing. I don't have nothing.
What's that, Frank?
I don't have any drawings in my packet.
They were from last month.
Last month.
From last month.
Oh, last one?
I share Gary's. While they're looking and we're looking, do you recall off the top of your head what the width of the property was from one survey pin to the other?
Maureen's property is 30 feet. DiMartino's is 30 feet, which is what their deed allows them, 30 feet of frontage on the lake. And Zimmerman's is 34 feet, which is what's allowed on our map. The next two properties over, there was a property line agreement survey that was done by Peter Keefe, who I contacted and talked to him about this pretty extensively, the whole area. So by deed, all the abutters have what their deeds give them for lakefront.
I appreciate the input, but my focus is on what this applicant's waterfront footage is from one pin to the other.
Her deed reads 34 feet.
34 feet.
Right, my survey ended up with what was left was giving her 30 feet to allow the neighbors to have what their deeds are given to them.
You just confused me.
So you're saying the deeds did not match what the property
Well,
actually was?
what makes this convoluted is all the deeds reference a 1921 map that no longer, you really can't reproduce that. All the monumentation from that has been obliterated, so you're retracing surveys from other surveyors trying to establish the lines as close as you can. But the original 1921 map falls 50 feet short of where the lake wall is now. So you have to apply riparian rights to get from the existing 1921 map out to the waterfront.
When I visited the property two times ago, it was pointed out to me that the property between the owner here and the DiMartino property, in the bushes, there's a stake of some kind in there. That may be the 50 feet mark that you talk about, or?
It's close, yes.
Close.
Yeah. The original 1921 map had a radius written, which the Peter Keefe survey to the properties to the west, he had set pins along that. So that was used as a radius to establish where the 21 map ended, and then where the riparian rights are gonna take place going out towards the wall, to the new lake wall.
So, let me see if I understand the second part of what you said. The survey shows a 34 feet of waterfront,
It shows
but it
shows-
conflicts
it shows
with the
30.
DiMartino side, or it doesn't.
No, DiMartino, their deed reads 30 foot of frontage on Highland Lake. That's what my map shows, to the corner of the lake wall that was installed. And then from the corner of the lake wall, it goes 30 feet for DiMartino, 30 feet for Maureen, and then 34 feet for the Zimmermans, which is their deeded distance.
But your survey shows that she has 34 feet.
No, she has 30.
30.
The deed
The
says
deed
34.
The deed shows 34
Deed of
feet.
record, which, that was actually where the lake was in 1921, which is no longer the case. It's now
That's what
currently
filled in and it just got narrower.
Right, and the problem is typically with a situation like this through erosion or sedimentation, if it was a brook or something, and it was 1 or 2 feet, you would extend the property lines to either go out to where the sedimentation is or back to where the erosion is. But with the egregious amount of land that was filled in, if you continue those lines in the same projections, you would have 11 feet
Yeah.
of water frontage. You can't do that. You have to apply different procedures. And part of the procedure is when you go along the lake wall, you proportion it. And in my decision, I made sure that the land to the abutters had what their deed said. Maureen was left with 30 feet. I discussed that with Maureen, and she said that's fine with her.
How much do you think was filled in? How far?
Close to 50 feet from the original map.
They're almost on the west side.
But that's everybody along that cove. And
That whole end of the cove, yes, was filled
Yeah.
in.
And part of the reason you need this is to get your boat out because it's filling in further.
Well, that's, this year we did have to shift the boat lift around because it was crooked from the water and coming in from that pipe, and then the dock that we have, the feet are not actually touching the lake either. It's wobbly, but that's, you know, I think at this point,
Okay.
So you essentially you have lost some frontage according to this survey.
Or they got 50 more feet of shorefront,
of land.
of land.
Of land.
Oh,
Over
see,
backyard.
Oh,
Typically,
yeah.
in these situations, it comes down to a boundary line agreement, to where people would get together and say, yeah, this is a problem, there's land that's gonna be claimed by all the homeowners up to the lakefront. And as the surveys were next door, you come up with a property line agreement, you do file the survey map, you file the deeds, and then that's where the properties end up. The old deed is overwritten, but that has never taken place. So,
We've been dealing with this for 2 years and you're the first person that brought this up, so.
right, well, and
Good
it's,
job.
it's convoluted, there's a lot involved. But,
and I understand that Mrs. DiMartino's been there a long time. I totally respect them. I get it. It's not easy. You know, this is something that, like I said, I have to see through.
I think
Way
everybody,
or nay, no matter how it goes.
I think everybody is well-intended and not malicious
No,
about
it's
it.
not. It's not.
It's just a matter of, we're trying to get it right once.
typically, I mean, establishment of the property lines it falls in a civil court. Would basically say they would have 2 surveys. They would take my survey, DiMartino would have a survey. It would go in front of a judge, and a judge would probably call 2 expert witnesses, which are typically surveyors who are attorneys. They would look at, apply the laws, or I've seen many times where a judge will just say, split it down the middle, and that's what you're getting. So, but there, truthfully, you know, I've applied all the laws and theories that I could find. Of course, if you look for a case study, there's nothing exactly like this to witness and say, well, this is exactly how it goes.
Are you saying that a decision that this commission might make or would make might be challenged in court because of the survey?
I don't, if the lot line agreement comes through, no.
Well, how would that come about?
The neighbor, DiMartino, and we tried to do
If
this.
they have a surveyor, maybe we can sit down and talk with them and try and come up with something.
If they come up with a survey, I'd be more than glad to sit down and talk with. their
One of the
surveyor.
things I'm in favor of suggesting, and I will suggest it, is that we hire an independent surveyor, someone who has no vested interest in Mrs. Pizzano's property, DiMartino's property, the Zimmerman property, somebody who's gonna go in and objectively, and I'm not making a negative judgment on your survey, I just, you know what I'm saying? You were hired by her. Having said that, DiMartino would hire her own survey.
Right.
If we, the town, employs a surveyor who has no vested interest in the outcome, other than the facts,
Right.
that might be a better way to at least give the commission an understanding of what you're saying and either support it or have, you know,
Well, it's,
And that's a cost to the town?
that would be a cost to the applicant, no.
Right.
No.
I feel like that could be contested though, just,
Wait a minute, hang on.
Right, that could be contested, I mean, if it's gonna all be contested, throwing another surveyor into it, it's just gonna, if it's going in the direction of potentially a civil court case, then what's the point of, we're just throwing more, another survey in there?
Let's hear what
That can get
DiMartino's
con-
got to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's hear what
Yeah, no, I was just saying, that's my thought, throwing yet another survey in there seems
I have a question.
a bit much.
Talk loud, Gary.
Basically, you said DiMartino, you gave DiMartino the 30-foot, or the 30-foot that's on her deed,
Correct.
right? Okay, what can she contest?
I don't know, we're gonna find out.
You gave the 30-foot that's on the deed. DiMartino has 30-foot. You gave it to her. That's where the stake is.
And she lost two on each side.
Let's go to the other side.
She
So
lost
Zimmerman,
She lost four.
he had
Four,
30,
right, two on each side.
Zimmerman had 34 on the deed, correct?
Correct.
You gave Zimmerman 34.
Correct.
When you say he gave, he
He
just
left it
said
where
that
it's
that was,
supposed
it remained in place.
Remained
He
in place.
didn't give them anything.
Remained in place, that's what
Yeah.
it was. She ended up taking the short end of the stick.
loss.
So how can they come back and argue if they have their frontage that's on their deed?
Well,
And we don't know what's gonna occur, right? We don't know if anybody's gonna contest.
We don't know that, but
We'll-
I'm
we'll
just, I
see
just
the
wanna
rest
get
of
it
the
straight.
meeting.
This is a public hearing, so.
Yeah, it's a public
There-
hearing, so we'll
it is,
see
you know,
what.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think it would be incumbent on Jeff reaching out to DiMartino and asking to be present.
There.
Oh, I'm sorry, oh, I didn't see you there, okay.
They're coming up,
Oh, I didn't see you in the back, I apologize, I'm glad. Okay, just before you guys step down, do we have any other questions of the presentation? Now, okay, so we sort of beat to death the survey. Now tell us what you want to do in the water. You want to put a 30-foot dock?
I wanted, right now, the dock is 4 feet. We wanna keep it the same width, bring the length to 30,
Bring it back in.
bring it, right, and then
And the boat lift?
we'd like to permit the existing boat lift.
Question, because of the narrowness of your waterfront, and the navigational aspect of that cove, where do you want to put the dock and the boat lift on this waterfront?
And we had it in.
Is that where you want it?
Yes,
Is it different than what it's, the way it exists in the water now?
yes.
It is. Tell me the difference.
I think it's more on an angle. We're trying to keep in our boundary and especially in the littoral boundary. I'd like to, like I said, the boat lift to be out a little deeper so that the boat is better on the boat lift and that the dock, that the feet of the dock hit the lake floor.
Well, the legs are adjustable.
Well, yeah, but it's still with that tunnel of water rushing in when it's a storm, it's not level, like I
Is
said.
it your belief, and I know, I've missed a few of these meetings, it's your belief that by what you're putting in as a dock, that it doesn't change the distances between the distances between the other docks, or does it? Like, when you bring it back, does it make less room or more room, or does it about remain the same?
I think it's more on an angle, so.
Right, so it's on an
definitely
angle,
will
but does it change? It
definitely
does change it. So let's just say in layman's terms, you have 12 feet to the other dock, right, the way it is now. Now, when you tilt and change it, does that make it less?
I think it opens it up.
Or does it open it up?
I think on this, yeah.
It opens the pathway.
It opens the pathway. So in my mind, it's increasing distances between docks, which I don't own a boat, but I kind of think is better, right? If you have more space between docks, I don't know.
Well, one of the
We're
things we,
still, even if we're still, if it does get approved to the 30, if we even get that far, it still will be shorter than each abutting neighbors.
So meaning it would increase the space between them.
Yes, well, I think so, yes.
Okay.
we do have a letter from the Zimmermans in the package which talks about their concern regarding navigation. They're not able to attend, my understanding?
they're
Oh,
here.
you're here too?
They're here, yeah.
Everybody's here.
Here's a letter that she wants.
Okay. commission have any other concerns regarding, Mrs. Pisano and the, surveyor? Any questions?
You, actually, just one, you on DiMartino property, you did a previous survey on this? Cause it's labeled previous dock location and existing dock location.
No,
You're the one who documented the previous and existing?
The existing we have. Previous was taken from aerial photography.
So that's an assumed, we don't actually know
Right, it's gonna
how accurate it actually
It's
was.
gonna be within a foot or so, I can tell
Okay.
you that.
Okay. But existing obviously is accurate.
Right.
In at last meeting, I asked you to include
Oh, yes.
details, how close we were to the littoral boundaries.
Right.
Did you have those figures?
Oh, yeah, I have it in the file. I thought
Okay.
you were gonna bring more copies. Hold on a second.
That's one.
I do have a comment about the Zimmerman, the letter. I know they were requesting 18 feet between the docks. I don't know if that's even possible to have that much room. Where you're gonna park two boats right next to each other.
What's there currently now? You're saying, yeah, the goal was maybe to get to 18 feet, maybe that's realistic, maybe it's not, but what do you have now? Or does it not matter
I
because
don't think-
they're not parked on that side?
Right, well, that's it. I think it's 13.2. 13.2 from the end of Maureen's dock to the edge of the Zimmerman dock. And it's 18 feet from the Zimmerman dock. So the entrance would be 18 feet. But actually where you're gonna put the boats is 13.
Gets narrower.
But there's, you're not gonna get 18 feet.
And I didn't
Right.
sort over it, I just kinda put it in the file.
And actually, where she's moving her dock, she's moving it over 6 feet to more center it on her frontage. Because right now, it's like right on the corner. It's a foot or two in from the actual property corner, and then the littoral line goes out. But we're moving the dock over to
When
make it
she's
better.
moving it over towards Zimmerman or towards DiMartino?
Towards the center of her property,
But angling it different?
but angling it to make sure that the boat lift is parallel to the littoral line. Because the littoral lines obviously are going towards the center of the cove.
I mean, if it could just go straight up the way it is now, but then it won't be in my littoral boundary zone.
Do we have any other questions or concerns before I ask the audience to participate? Jeff?
Just a note, the map that you presented me the other day appears to be the same as what we already had. Maybe it was maybe you pulled the wrong one, or is there something specific that maybe we could point out?
It just had the distances between the docks.
Yeah, I think we already
That
had
was on
that.
that, that
Yeah.
was on the map.
Okay, and Matt, what were you looking for? I know you were requesting.
Distance to littoral boundaries.
Okay, I may give them the wrong one.
Just how I wondered what
Okay,
was
yeah, that's
existing
not
now
that,
and what,
right.
obviously what was proposed to the littoral boundaries.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that is not on here.
Right, let me look at my file, I may have it.
And upload it into the permit when you get a chance, or
Sure.
email it to me, I'll upload it, whatever's
I may
easiest.
have a copy here with me.
Okay, would you mind just stepping aside and either family come up first, one or the other?
Hi, I'm Leslie Sullivan from 150 East Wakefield Boulevard. The family asked me to come and represent them and just read the letter that they submitted.
That's the letter we have?
Yes.
Okay.
Members of the IWWC Board, regretfully, many of the owners of 150 East Wakefield Boulevard, Zimmerman family, are out of state for long scheduled trips and will be unable to attend the July 2024 meeting of the board. As of this writing, the board is expected to have before it a request from the Pisano family for a new dock and lift to the 148 East Wakefield Boulevard. We want to make sure the board understands our position on the request of the Pisano for docks and/or lifts. First and foremost is that we request the IWWC works to follow the town stop and mooring ordinance in general and works to ensure that there is no impact on navigation per paragraph 7B. We request that the dock be positioned in such a way that a boat navigating to our dock or their dock will not be impeded. Further, if those boats were tied to the side of the dock, they would not interfere or bang into each other. In general, this would mean at least 18 feet between the two docks, accommodating an approximately 8-foot wide boat on both sides, as well as gap space so they do not hit each other or their docks. We want all our neighbours to fully enjoy their waterfront at Highland Lake. At the same time, we don't agree with the approval of any plan that allows for a dock that is so close to the littoral boundary that it obstructs navigation and limits the use of our dock. Limiting the use of our dock will reduce the value of our property. Finally, before any plans are approved, we want to see the boundary dispute that is going on between the Pisano and Di Martino property finalized and published. Thank you for your consideration. Irene Desarilla, Tracy Benicia, Alan McDonald, Denise McDonald, Jay Sullivan, and John Zimmerman.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here from the family that wants to say anything or add anything to the letter? I'm saying silence?
Yeah, from the Zimmerman? From the
Yes,
Zimmermans?
from the
Yeah,
Zimmerman.
No,
Okay. You would like to add anything else?
no, that was it.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
And from the Di Martino family?
How we doing? Rob DiMartino, 144 East Wakefield Boulevard, representing myself and my sisters who own the property. I just, with new information coming out with this new survey, I actually took a little lesson in surveys and deeds and studying, and I just want you guys to know that there's 3 surveys out there. The original one from '72, when my parents bought the property. There's a 2003 survey after this wall was put in, and they permitted a garage there that shows an increase in the waterfront area. And then actually, the survey that you guys had for the last meeting by Cole, that showed the 24 feet. So we had the 50% rule. I think we learned the last time of putting in the new boat lift and a dock, and it came up short on that.
Right.
There's just a discrepancy in their 2 surveys that they submitted, so it just, I just wanted to show some kind of backtracking of data. Our original survey goes off the deed, and then the survey for the proposed garage actually goes on the littoral boundary after adding in more of the fill and building in the wall, so that actually is more than 30 feet. But it's just a discrepancy here in these 2 proposed surveys, and I think you got them the last time. So I don't know who wants to see these, or.
No, this is what Pisano just gave us, or we haven't?
Yeah, there's,
back
so this is the one that
This
you
is-
kind of talked about last time, and, it basically became a technicality where they couldn't put the dock in because there wasn't enough frontage.
Right.
So every survey that we have, going back to 2003 and '72, is all straight lines on the property line. From Winstead surveyors, I think it was Keefe, I think it was Old School, Howell, Laverian, Finch, their surveyors, but everyone has the property line going straight out the property.
Into the water, you mean they're not using the cove method essentially?
They're actually using what is written in the deed to be that method. Is all of the different properties basically are coming in through, I think, this document that's 100 years old, of your property lines going out through any of the Winston, or the Highland Lake area.
Is that the Highland Lake Shores?
Yes, the Highland Lake
27.
Shores map. So again, these are all straight lines from start to finish. So my concern is there was a denied request or a tabled request, and now this new survey brings up 6 extra feet to be able to do, what is planned to do. I'd rather go back to the facts of this, of the 2003 survey, and I can share them with you guys from where we are here. This is basically by the deed itself. And then the 2003 survey
based on what the other gentleman said previously, that your survey and deed probably do not end at the real waterfront as it exists today.
Correct, and we
So then-
actually talked to a number of surveyors in town here that said there's no angling of any of the property lines.
But again, the relevance of what you're gonna show us or give us is not consistent with what exists physically out there right now, I don't think.
So,
Well, we have 3 maps showing the same thing,
But
and then this new map.
Do they show,
The new map.
do they show the linear feet from the street to the waterfront?
I am not a surveyor, I didn't bring a surveyor, I just know that these 3 surveys match. Basically, the line, the littoral line from property out to the cove, and then this newer survey does not. And
Does
that
not.
concerns me.
So
I'm
your
not-
maps there show littoral boundaries on them?
They show the littoral lines, yes.
On the ones you have?
No.
But that's what, okay, so you don't, you're just assuming they go straight out is what you, or you're referencing the property
I'm
lines
referencing the property
You're not
line.
talking about littoral boundaries? Okay, we need to clarify
I'm
that.
referencing the property line.
Property
Again, I'm
lines.
not a surveyor, dove into this and tried to understand as much fact as
Oh, so
possible.
sorry, because I want to clarify that too, because I thought you were talking about that we're about the
No,
code
the
method
property-
in the water.
the
We're talking
property
about
line
just the
goes-
property lines.
The property
Okay,
line
that
goes
clarifies
straight
it
out
for
to
me.
the water.
Okay.
so you're talking about the one that you share with
But-
Pisano,
but-
not being straight. Is that what you're
It
disputing?
should be straight. In the newer version of the survey, it is not to add an additional number of feet. And the one that they submitted to you guys for the last meeting that I attended was in line with everything that we have here.
But I think the point that Matt just picked up on is that your reference to littoral line is the consistency with land.
Correct.
Once the land ends and we hit the cove, then the littoral line changes dramatically.
Again, I am not a
Again-
surveyor, I'm just looking
Again,
for
what
the
we,
facts.
what we
and I-
try to do is, we try to pick a center point in the cove, out in the water,
You guys or surveyors?
survey, out in the water, all right? And the littoral lines of the property, which may go this way, now have to point
No,
to the
understand
clove.
that, and they're-
Okay.
They're in the maps here, but what we're saying is 3 of the surveys, the last Cole survey that they submitted to the area where it showed 24 feet and the 50% rule came up, and we couldn't move ahead with that. That is now changed to an angled line, and I'm just concerned of the discrepancy in a professional
What does your
organization.
map show that you have of waterfront?
These are the Cole ones, so.
Is that the one we got in front of us now?
No, I think there are 2 different versions, that's where it's concerning to me. And again, we've talked to a number of,
See, you're looking here that's straight.
Yeah, that's the
and it goes straight.
Yeah, but
So
they-
this is the one that we had in April, and then magically this one comes up, and it goes to the dock point, which I believe the Cole surveyors came out, and they talked to my mother, and my mother said, no, that's the wrong line, so they actually surveyed this based on,
This shows you have 36 feet of waterfront. And the one that was presented today shows 30 feet.
yeah,
And this-
again, I
back
think in
from-
2024, surveyors are not off by 6 feet, so it's just concerning to me on that.
But the deed says 30 feet.
Right, but the deed also was a coved area, and then they built a wall together where it was funded, from my understanding, together to build a wall and fill in.
Okay, so maybe you had 36 feet, but you have less now.
But in this,
More shorefront,
in
means
this,
less waterfront.
so we went through this with, who is this? Peter Keefe. So this is 2003. And again, this is a property line that goes off, and it shows 39 feet based off of the angle of the property line. And this is in land record. I mean,
You know,
again, there's
think-
three surveys that say the same thing, except for the latest one. That's my point.
Yeah.
So Peter's showing 39 feet, 39 and a half feet.
Yeah, but they don't show the same thing. They're showing
They show the same thing, it's a straight line to the
the
water.
straight line, but the end of the straight line at the water is different in each case.
Right, so
they
my
filled it in.
concern is that's, the straight line is the straight line.
What I'm seeing with this is that there's a contest of where these lines are on the seawall existing. So there is conflicting views of where these points are on land that's right at the water. And then from there, we have to base these loophole boundaries out going out. So if nobody can decide this, then if nobody can decide where these, or agree where these fixed points on the land are, then I would think it would have to go to some other, we can't determine, that would have to go to, I mean, as much as I hate to say that, or go to some kind of court, right? That determines, that lawyers that are surveyors determine where these fixed points are and then base everything off that, if there's not an agreement to agree with these surveys, right? I mean, does that seem?
Can I jump in?
Sure.
You wanna come up?
Well, good with you? Okay, okay, just wanted to make sure before, if we weren't switching,
Sorry.
yeah. well, I didn't know who we-
Introduce yourself, please.
Yep, I'm Dina Grant. It's my brother Bob, my sister Lori's in the back, 144 East Woodville Boulevard. So just a question to you guys. The pin is there on the wall. The pin was placed after the wall was put in. Does that make any difference? Because the pin is the pin, and it's not where the latest Pisano survey says the boundary is. So of what significance is the pin?
Pins
on
can
the
be
wall?
easily
You
moved.
got the pin.
Well, the
and then
pin's
you have
been
the
there from the
deeds,
beginning of time.
And this is a mess. The pins are there, and it's supposed to be a straight line, but this guy says the
Well,
deeds say
it-
you're only supposed to have 30 feet, and that's what it was deeded at, probably back in 27.
You know, we're faced with an additional problem, that we're dealing with the reality that exists today with all of the documentation that pre-existed it before somebody filled the land in to where they wanted it to end. And that changed the dynamics of the waterfront, changed the footage of the waterfront. There doesn't seem to be any consistency in what documentation says and what reality says. We're trying to,
I would challenge that a little bit, because the consistency is the line to the water.
but that line was extended artificially by somebody who gave somebody more land.
By both parties who paid for the
Again,
wall and joined.
you know, I mean, somebody filled in the land, you know.
So
You're
that-
saying that they filled it in, and we're just going straight from where they filled it in. I can't challenge that, you know, I don't know. A survey of,
Yeah, we've talked to some surveyors, and it's
Yes.
unprecedented to have us have one
But-
survey and then change.
but regardless of where the survey pins are, the accuracy of that survey ends at the wall. We come in with the Cove method, which changes the littoral boundaries by 100% in some of your cases.
So
You know-
I'll just leave it there unless.
You know,
No, I just-
knowing your property, the left side of your property, Pisano's side, if you were to go straight, you're going right into the shoreline of Shore Drive.
Yeah,
So
I think our concern was the survey in the property line, giving, an extra angle in there where it has never been documented ever in the Highland Lake shores, in the previous surveys.
And what I heard also is the gentleman said that apparently you're gaining more footage with their survey than,
But we're not.
Again, that's what I heard.
With our survey, it was.
Yeah, I see what
again,
you're saying.
well, if you
We're
look
not.
at the 39-foot one, you're losing. If you look at the 30-foot one, you're gaining. So,
No,
pick
they're saying
your
that-
poison.
No, well, survey after the wall was built. So
All right,
that's
I
the
think,
map.
I think,
But you guys are, again,
Right, so I guess our next steps would be,
the
like, you
next
guys
step,
won't
and
make
my
a
suggestion
decision.
would be
Can't make a decision.
to,
they have to decide on the permit or not.
my suggestion in the next step would be for the town to hire an independent surveyor that you would share the cost of, and let that independent surveyor put pins out there, and if you don't like what he or she says,
We live with it.
you know, live with it or take somebody to court,
The court's gonna.
including us. You know, I don't know what else to tell you.
That's fine.
And until that happens, everything's on hold in terms of a decision?
We'll continue the public hearing. Let me ask you, would you be willing to participate in paying for part of an independent survey?
I think we'd have to talk about that, but I
Yeah,
think that,
I don't think we can make that decision right now, because again, you have three surveys that are saying basically the same property line and angle, and then one new survey.
so,
That now,
Right.
this new survey is, you're compliant to do what you want. It just doesn't add up.
so I guess what he's saying is, would another survey solve the problem? Probably not.
Survey what?
Would another survey solve the problem? Probably not.
We don't know.
I guess it would be independent, it would be another reference before potentially you went to another level of a civil matter, of a civil court case, I assume. You know, getting to look at it one
With the
more
information
time.
that you have now, is that even needed? There's doubt in.
Well, if we make a ruling that you don't agree with the property lines, then you're gonna challenge that ruling in court. We're saying, let's try to make the ruling objectively accurate so that, you know that we did due diligence and we were objectively fair to everybody without, somebody may get hurt in the process and somebody may not get hurt in the process. But, like, you can't point the finger out and say they were subjective, they took somebody's survey over ours and they ruled on that behalf. So that's what we're trying to avoid. We're just trying to, level the playing field for you guys and for us. We've been dealing with this.
There was never a border dispute before this, so again.
We've been dealing with this for probably, this is what, second or third go-around.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, no, I know,
Same
and
project.
I think that's where the other side said is there's gonna be litigation involved in this stuff. So again, if that's where it goes, that's where it goes, but I was just trying to come here and present the
No, I think
actual.
that's important.
The
I'm
actual
glad you
surveys.
did.
Glad you did.
If we went to that next level, I would feel comfortable moving ahead with having, if everybody agreed to having another surveyor look at it. I certainly don't wanna agree to something, have the town in a lawsuit because we said, well, we went this
took
way.
somebody's word.
We took this survey and they looked at these other three surveys and now it costs the town money.
Maybe not even a survey, but research the records and see what order and what,
Yeah, I
you know,
don't-
because this
I
goes
did
back to
that the last 3 weeks.
1921, you
guys
said,
can do it.
right?
Yeah.
1972 was when the property was bought, so we've had
Yeah.
that boundary for 51 years, essentially.
But since that time, there's two other surveys.
That
You
still
have-
back up
Yeah,
the
so
the
So
original.
somebody
one
should
in
look at that and
2003,
see
I have them all right here, and
what's
then.
ground zero,
Right.
Oh, but it
And
changed
then
when you
what
built the
moved
wall.
Right,
So
but
that-
then even the 2023 one by Cole shows the same thing, and then
And
a year
then,
later.
and then they changed theirs from
He
then
has
to
pins
now.
out there that show us this?
He went
I
over,
don't know.
he went out and pulled his pin and apologized to Lorraine for
Right.
making an error on his
Right,
survey.
I remember that. That was a little over a year ago.
Right.
So then we have no
So then it
pins
changed
there.
again. So the credibility there, that's a piece for us.
So then I think the first step,
Differences.
whether you agree with an independent survey or not, is to put your surveyor's pins back there, so we.
Well,
we
ours
can-
is still there.
Oh, I thought they were pulled.
Cole placed
It's at
one
the- it's
and
at
then
the bush.
said,
I don't believe it's at the wall.
The
It
bush,
isn't-
there's
it
one in the
This is
bush.
By the bush, right? That's the pin, by the bush.
Yeah, but
by the-
that pin is 40, 50 feet from the waterfront.
It's,
no.
30 feet, 20 feet, it's not from here to here.
All right, I'm not sure.
I mean, and again, as somebody said before, those pins can
Right,
be
the pin
pulled
in the
out of the
wall is
ground
missing.
and
That's-
moved anywhere you want to put them. So we're still in clear. The gentleman behind you, the other surveyor, you had something you wanted to say?
I just want to clarify.
Just introduce yourself again and,
My name's Steve Zajac, I'm with Cole Civil Survey. Can I look at the map that you, the 24-foot map that we
it's the one that you guys submitted to these guys for the last
exhibit for a property line agreement where Maureen, Lorraine, and I had gone out here, and we tried to settle this with a property line agreement, which is the simplest, least course of resistance. And we went out, and Lorraine had said, yeah, that looks good, that's good. And then, so I went back, I drew a map up, the attorney looked at it, he said, that's fine, and nobody ever answered back to say yes. As you can see on my note right here, on November 20th, a boundary line agreement between Pisano Di Martino on November 20th, per deed volume, page question mark, and here on recorded map. This was supposed to be an exhibit to agree on a property line and then take it to the town, have you guys approve the property line agreement, and then we would do deeds and take care of this, and it would have all been done.
When you say you guys, you mean zoning, or?
Would have went to zoning, I'm sorry.
Right, would've, yeah, no, I just wasn't sure, so zoning would've agreed,
Right, zoning would have looked at it
and
and
when
said.
you referenced a lawyer, that would've been Nelligan, is that?
Why did that process stop?
Personal.
I don't know, there was never any communication between Maureen and Lorraine after this.
No, I did have my lawyer, he did search the title, and I did hand the papers to Lorraine, and I said to her, please, don't think I'm trying to shite you, but please show these to the
I
kids.
know, I'm just saying that there's not a 6-foot error in the maps. This map was just an exhibit. Our survey map that we're sticking to is the 30 feet.
All right, where do we wanna go?
If I just asked Bob one question. It references here that your dock was moved. Is this accurate?
I don't know, I have been in my own place for a long time now. My mother had an old wooden dock with a big kind of end to it. And now there's a metal dock that's much shorter and much less cluttery. I don't know.
It just out of curiosity, it looks like it encroaches more on your boundary.
Check to see if the other docks were permitted properly. And you
Yeah,
said they were.
I believe the survey, or the, sorry, too much survey talk. The permit on file matches the previous configuration. And I know it, the first time around, Lorraine wanted to talk about that, and it never happened during the process. So that doesn't really shed more light on anything, but
So maybe it's not.
So it looks like it was moved without a permit.
it does look like that,
Okay.
yeah. She had a reason, and, you know, I think maybe she even talked to one of the prior wetlands agent, but, you know, I can't speak to
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I don't know when that happened, Matt. but,
Okay.
You know, I think some of the docks up there are in that similar kind of bucket of.
Shift.
You know, you guys are all neighbors, and at the end of the day, if they truly own 30 feet, they are entitled to a dock and a boat lift, so obviously, at some point, everybody's gotta come to some sort of an agreement. Whether it be with us, or whether it be with the court, I mean, you know, whatever.
Where you wanna go, chief?
That's all I wanted to say.
You know what, I don't know if we're spending too much time digging, or we should just move ahead and make a decision.
Well, I do like the idea of one last, in a sense of one last effort here to maybe get one more survey, get an independent survey, and hopefully it sheds some light on something, that maybe it can foster an agreement of where these points are, and then from there, we would go out with our littoral boundaries, using the cove method, which everybody, I think, has agreed on, out in the water, and take it from there. If that doesn't produce a result, then you would have to go to some other civil court, right, to determine where these boundaries are, really truly are, and where you're gonna go with it, and then judge what happens out in the water, and come back to us and say, yeah, we've finally agreed, or the judge has agreed and said, that's where this point is, that's where that one's. Maybe somebody gets 38 feet that only had 34, who knows which way it goes, but if everybody wants to go down that route, I mean, it's up to all the homeowners.
I don't think anybody should give up what they own.
Right.
You know, I think, you know, if you own 38 feet, then you're entitled to use 38 feet of waterfront.
Yeah.
If you only own 32 feet, then you're not entitled to it. I think the conversation really is, what does each homeowner actually own on the water?
But it changed.
Well, again,
That's
over the
again
last
where you're
30
gonna
or
end up
40
with
years.
another survey, or you're gonna end up in civil court,
whatever that branch is that deals with these disputes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the.
I don't think there's any other direction for us to go.
As for an independent surveyor, I don't think you're gonna find a lot of surveyors that wanna deal with a boundary dispute. It's hard enough to get a guy to do survey
Well,
work
you
as
gotta
it
tell them
is.
before.
And they're not exactly lining up to get involved in a boundary dispute, so.
Point, the surveyor's gotta be aware of what's going, what he's stepping
Say it again?
The surveyor has to be aware of what he's stepping into.
My point jokingly I said was, we just don't tell them, right? But he made the point that, no, you really.
One thing we can't
should.
do is hide John DeCara, because he's sitting here.
I think-
John,
You got
can you
lucky.
venture an opinion?
I'd rather not.
Okay. It's public hearing.
So, what we have here, though, is a survey by a state licensed surveyor that says they own 30 feet.
Yeah.
And their deed says they own 30 feet.
And there's another survey that says they don't.
Well, there's another deed that says they own 30 feet, right? The deeds, if we go back to our property deeds,
Is everybody's not gonna agree that he's giving.
Is your,
feet to these
the
people.
30 feet that you've articulated, there's a pin on the Zimmerman side in that pipe, and it's painted pink. On the DiMartino side, is there a pin?
Yes,
On the wall, or near the wall?
right behind the wall, yes.
All right, because I didn't see it.
It's a 5/8 inch rebar, 30 inches long.
What is it?
It's a 5/8 inch, number 5 rebar.
But that's not on the wall, that's on the side of the property.
It's behind the wall.
It's at the waterfront,
It's,
That-
no, it's on the back side.
but at the waterfront.
Right.
Okay. Just from your recollection, there's, the DiMartino's has their dock in the water now. What's the proximity of your pin to that dock?
About a foot away.
On,
To the west.
on the, don't confuse me, on Pisano's side? So it's a foot inside where the DiMartino dock presently is? Is that what you're saying, roughly?
Yeah, it's on Pisano's side, and then the dock is a foot to the right of the border between Pisano and DiMartino. So the dock is a foot inside the littoral line where it goes up.
And I would venture to say that the DiMartino dock, if you go out the length of the dock, crosses over into Pisano's property littorally. Maybe yes, maybe no.
I don't think it does.
no.
No,
No, it doesn't.
The angle is not that way?
No, it goes the other way.
The other way? Okay. All right, what do we want to do? We want an independent engineer, and they can, surveyor rather? Jeff, say something.
I'll do whatever you guys
I
want.
know that,
I
but-
will say that there was an additional surveyor who's sort of aware of the situation, and he said, "Do not hire me for this." So I think we're going to have a hard time finding someone with the time and everything else, but we'll certainly make it happen if that's what the desire of the commission is.
Matt?
Yeah, like I said, I think surveyors are 3, 4, 5 months out on projects. So if you contracted somebody tomorrow, if they'd even take a boundary dispute, there's so much clean work to do out there, so to speak, than to work.
Yeah, but
A
I think
project like this.
we're obligated to do due diligence also.
Yeah, at whose expense are we gonna,
By the regulation, it would fall on the applicant.
so they're gonna hire somebody?
No, we hire them, they pay for it. That's how
Okay.
that works.
Okay.
Gary?
I feel we're gonna come right back to the same thing.
Frank?
And then let the courts figure it out.
I'm gonna say something, because I went through this with family, not on this, but something to do with family business. And the judge said to us is, I'm gonna close the door, you're gonna sit here for 6 hours, and as a family and friends, you're gonna come to an agreement, and then I'm gonna open up the door in 6 hours.
That's the way court usually.
That's what he did for us.
Right.
And that was in reference to a family business in a house.
I've seen that happen. Boundary line agreement is the course of least resistance.
Russ?
I do agree with just what he said. I mean, I've always been a proponent of try to settle stuff, not go to court with something, try to settle something with an agreement between the neighbors. I've always gone in that direction, and the term you used
Go ahead.
was could you say that term again?
Boundary line agreement.
Boundary line agreement that potentially these three parties could come together independently and have a boundary line agreement. I mean, that, I would love to see that, but,
Typically, when this goes to a court, each property would have their own survey. Pisano would have hers, DiMartino would have their own surveyor, and then they would compare the surveys at court.
Which is what everybody has now, right?
I don't think there's a current survey of, those are old maps, and I don't know
Right.
if those are actually recorded documents. I think those are in the files in the zoning.
Are there, we've been all over the place.
I don't think those are actually recorded documents.
Yeah, that might be correct.
are there are there mediators that get involved with this, just like you would, you know, a divorce attorney, instead of going to the attorneys, right? That was a bad reference, right? Sorry. Just as you would go to a, you know, instead of going to a full lawyer, you go to a mediator that would help.
You could sit down and do that, and, like I said, typically, you would have two surveys,
Right.
so.
Or three.
John?
Yeah, now the boundary line agreement does not have to go and get approved by planning and zoning or anything like that. So what you represented before, if you could have got both parties to sign, that's it. You don't have to get approved.
Right.
You don't have to get approved by,
They
the board.
have to sign the map in order to file.
Put the map on file, file the deeds,
Right.
but you don't have to go to planning and zoning, you don't have to go
Right,
to
well,
ZBA.
what I meant by that was you have to present it to get a signature.
Just to each party,
Right.
not to the town. Town's got nothing to do with it. You guys just settle it with an agreement or a lawsuit, whatever. But zoning board of appeals, selectmen, wetlands, they don't approve any of that.
John, with all due respect, I'm gonna ask Jeff to check that out with our lawyers, so that if it comes up, we'll have an answer. But I appreciate your input. I'm not challenging it. I just don't wanna go down a path that may lead to more complications. Everybody, all the parties are here tonight. We're gonna continue this public hearing till next month for sure. Is there any possibility that the three concerns would be willing to meet and come back to us with one kind of a suggestion that each of you could live with? I know the Zimmermans are interested in the navigation aspect of what's going on. DiMartino doesn't want to lose any property as to what's going on, and Pisano wants to put a dock and boat lift in the water. Is that a reasonable request to make? I don't see any heads going one way or the
I
other.
don't thi- I mean, there's no way DiMartino's are gonna wanna give up 9 feet according to their survey, so why would? I said, well, I mean, you guys, with your survey, say you own an additional 9 feet. Nobody in their right mind is gonna give up 9 feet. So
He's saying that they're giving them 4 feet.
oh, yes, that's his opinion.
But that's,
And their
again,
opinion is
Again,
that,
if
so.
they sit down and talk about it, yes.
So, I'm sorry to, I'm just gonna say it. The trust level, in terms of us communicate, the trust level now that there have been 3 different surveys put out by, Mrs. Pisano's surveyors, and they've all been different, and there's been pins moved and all sorts of things. We're now no longer really willing to have a conversation.
Okay.
Because we don't really trust the
It's
people
fine.
we have the conversation with.
All right, then, I'm gonna suggest that we continue the public hearing. We instruct the applicant that we're going to hire a public, an independent surveyor. And let's see where the chips fall.
So just out of, so if we have them hire that surveyor, it doesn't mean that anybody has to accept it. So why incur $4,000, $5,000, $6,000?
Because I think in order for us to do
I think.
due diligence fairly,
What happens if we don't get,
So what's
nobody
gonna
wants
happen, what's gonna happen is we have a state licensed surveyor in front of us who's saying this is what's accurate. We need to act on this. That's all we have in front of us. All right? Because, and then we act on this, whether,
Maps over here too.
no. This is what we have to act on, whether we approve it or deny it. Then, Pisano's can, if we say don't approve it, they can take us to court and dispute our decision. Or if we do approve it, DiMartino's can take us to court and dispute it.
Well, that's a cost to the town, right?
What's What's that?
going to court?
What, family and
You know what,
everything else?
though? I think that removes the burden from us to the town
But
attorney.
this is what we have to act on right here. That's end
But
of
again,
story.
we're not sure of the accuracy because individuals are presenting different versions of the same things.
So here's the thing, none of us are qualified to
Correct.
question his opinion, and this is what we have to act on. End of story. We cannot, you can voice your opinion, you don't have to vote for it and favor it, but none of us have the qualifications to dispute what he's put in front of us right now.
So what
I would agree with
are you suggesting?
That's what I feel. We don't have the qualifications to dispute him. So with that being said, you know, he's saying they own 30 feet. By that application, they are proposing 14 feet of usage of their waterfront. They're allowed to get 14, they're allowed 15 feet.
We're allowed to make the variance.
Yes, we are allowed to. And then if people don't like our decision, whether we approve it or just whatever. But that's, none of,
You're right. No, I agree with that. We fundamentally agree with what you're saying, that we're out of our league in terms of that.
I'm not a state licensed surveyor, I can't dispute this right
No.
now.
My thought is I don't wanna, obviously, there's already a dispute with the three parties involved, that we are just opening the town up right to immediately we're into a lawsuit. And I don't like the.
We're going by
Right.
state license.
But if they're gonna contest it, isn't it a lawsuit?
They can contest the thing and then go to court and bring it to court, but it's not a
But
lawsuit
when you
to
say
us.
bring to court, isn't that the town being brought to court?
They would bring the neighbors in, for more surveys and stuff like that.
But we represent the
We just
town in this
We're
case.
representing the town and what we have been put in front of us by a
Right.
state licensed engineer.
But sort of like, I feel like if it's gonna, we know it's gonna be contested, why do that? It's like, why step in front of a moving car, you're gonna get run over.
My comfort level is to have an independent surveyor commit to the project. The reality of it is, we're not gonna make a decision tonight, and,
I don't think it's gonna change anything.
what's that?
I don't think it's gonna change anything. I don't think it's gonna change anything.
Let me ask you this, do we wanna close the public hearing and take a vote on the application?
I think that's probably what we should do.
Gary?
I don't think it's our position to ask for the independent survey. I think it's gotta go.
We've asked for independent engineers, we've asked for independent surveys, so it's common for us to do this.
How many times a survey? This is crazy. I don't know. I think we just close it and go.
Can I
Those that
make
vote
a
on it.
suggestion? If I have the floor.
Yeah.
Can I ask
Talk
the-
loud,
Sorry. What?
talk louder.
I'm sorry. Could I ask the three families to reconsider that his act is, I know it's tough, I'm not saying it's easy, but,
So can we play that out for a minute?
sure.
So Pisanos need all of the footage that they're asking for to do what they wanna do.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Pisano?
Pisanos need all of the footage that they're asking for from us to do what they wanna do, correct?
No, we want you to come to a,
No. In order to do their project,
Right.
right.
they need
30
the whole
feet?
6 feet.
No, they need
No.
28 feet.
They need 28 feet.
Exactly.
Their deed says that it has 30 feet,
Their survey says it has 30
The
feet.
deed
and the
says
original deed says it has actually more,
36, 34.
34. So you're below the deed.
That deed here, you guys have that deed in front of you?
I can pull them from land records right now.
Wait, I don't wanna, this is
No, I see what you're saying.
9:30 already.
Because that's the first we've heard first, that's why I'm
Well,
asking.
Yeah.
First we've heard
If,
This,
Sure.
My name's Chris Gibb, Lorraine's son.
probably come up to the microphone.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Chris Gibb, I'm Lorraine's son-in-law, Lori's husband. I mean, you're talking about, Matt, not having the authority to override, state licensed surveyors. Well, we have 3 maps that are from state licensed surveyors. There's Peter Keefe, everybody knows Peter Keefe. It shows, forget the littoral boundaries, I'm not talking about from the wall out, forget any of that. I'm talking about from the road to the wall front. That's it, like a piece of pizza, We have 3 surveys, one of them from Cole's office that shows that the boundary house and the Paisanos house is a straight line. Peter Keefe's does, Newt Whittemore's does from 972, Peter Keefe's does from 2003, Mr. Cole's does from 2022, which he called it something else. It was, you know, something to show you, but he shows a straight line and less than 30 feet. It was 24 feet. So there are state licensed surveyors. Everybody's boundary is a straight line over there until at the last meeting it was shot down because she was gonna break the 50% rule. And now they come back with a survey. Now that boundary is no longer straight. It's been straight for 60 years. 60 years. Every surveyor who surveyed it from the road to the wall is a straight line for the last 60 years. She didn't have enough frontage. Now it goes halfway down the property and angles over, which gives her 6 more feet than the last time.
So you're saying the pin that the
I'm
gentleman?
saying it was shot down because she broke the 50% rule with the dock she wanted to put in. And then 6 months later comes back with a new survey for the first time in 60 years that shows an angle in the property, which makes the frontage bigger.
The pin that's in place now between your property, DiMartino and Pizzano, that pin where it is now, is that accurate?
I don't know anything about the pins. I'm just looking at the maps. The pit, I mean, this has been, really, it's been a drama show. I know you guys are involved in it. Everybody's involved in it. I don't want to say, I mean, if Maureen legitimately has 30 feet, she does have every right to put in what she wants to put in. But the only way she has 30 feet right now is if that boundary is now angled. It now comes halfway down her property and offsets. It's not in Peter Keefe's survey does it do that, not in Newt Whittemore's survey does it do that. Only now in April 2024 is that boundary now have an angle in it, for the first time.
I agree with you, but the deed says 36 feet, so you have to look
Yeah,
at
but
that
that's
also.
going by before everybody has walls, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you're right, that if she has 30 feet, she can do what she wants.
And if she has
But I think
36,
a
and if she has
surveyor, somebody
36,
else, a
if she
third
has
party-
36 feet?
If she's got what she needs, then she should.
No, not what she needs, if she has what she has. If she has 34 or 36 feet,
I don't think she has that. I mean, the last meeting we all sat at in February, she had 24 feet. And the two things she wanted to put in the water broke the 50% rule, and then she dropped it. But now we're back here again, and now she has 30 feet, more than enough to do it.
I understand what you're saying.
So where did the 6 feet came from? The 6 feet came from now the boundary's not straight, it offsets and makes her frontage wider. It's been straight for 60 years. This is the first survey that ever shows the boundary between the two properties having an offset in it. This is the first time. Newt Whittemore didn't get it wrong. Peter Keefe didn't get it wrong. They were both right. It's a straight line. There is no offset in it. The offset makes it bigger. If she's got 30 feet, she can do what she wants. If there's more dispute about it, yeah, another surveyor needs to get involved and find out exactly what is the distance between Zimmerman's pin and Paisanos and Lorraine's pin and Paisanos. What's the distance between those two pins? And right now, that's the only map that's ever had an offset in it.
So,
I have to use surveyors all the time. You do, you do. Those guys find a pin in the ground buried under dirt and rocks for 60 years with precision. They're never wrong. Why is his own survey showing off? His own survey, the first one, was a straight line. And why now does it have an offset?
I think he explained it. But the other thing is,
Yeah, I know, but an exhibit, come on, I mean, your
wait a
exhibit
minute,
should
guys.
be right though, right? Shouldn't your exhibit be right?
excuse me,
all questions have to be directed.
Okay.
Please.
just direct your questions and your comments up here, we'll go from there.
Yep.
All right, I just can't, let's just move this ahead, one way or the other. We're hearing the same thing, it's repetitive.
Can we table it for another?
We can
meeting?
continue the conversation until
I
next
don't
month.
feel comfortable voting. I don't wanna drag this out anymore either.
But if we're gonna continue it, what, if we
decision
continue
right
it, what do we want to accomplish? Short of not having,
Unless they come in with new surveys.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, if we get a second, or if they hire a second surveyor and they say it matches this one, are you guys willing to accept that?
Yeah, if we have to hire a surveyor to do our property and determine that their surveyor and our surveyor find the same point at the seawall, yeah,
Wouldn't
that's
it make-
reasonable.
Wouldn't it make sense to share the expense of a surveyor? And
We would have our
the town,
property
the town
surveyed,
it would be a town pick surveyor,
okay?
and you guys would pay the expense of that survey, and you'd get the same answer as if you picked your own and he
You
picked.
guys meaning who, all of us?
Well, you for sure, your end for sure, Pisano for sure. If the Zimmermans aren't contesting her end of the property, they may or may not want to be part of it. They may want to be part of it.
Right.
But to me, your end and Pisano's end are challenging that pin, where it
What's
is
the
and where it's
distance
not.
Between the two pins.
Right, so then
What's the
I'm
distance?
saying, would you be willing to participate in paying for an independent survey hired by the town to remedy this issue?
You don't have to answer that right now, but it's something to talk.
They already said it's on the applicant's.
All right, listen, you know what, I think I'm gonna close the public hearing, I'm gonna continue the conversation, only because we're getting nowhere.
Well, they have the last say, right? Paisa, if they wanna come up, they can come up, have their,
Yeah, they can.
they have their last say.
You wanna say, no? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to close to continue the public hearing until next month?
I'll make a motion to continue IWWC 2420 for 148 East Wakefield Boulevard.
Is there a second?
Second.
I would just like to add to the motion that the recommendation is that the contesting parties pay for an independent engineer hired by the town, and I would like them to inform the town within the next week whether or not they're willing to do that.
Surveyor, sorry.
Is there a?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those are in favor of the motion? So we're gonna continue. They have a week to tell Jeff whether or not they're gonna pay for an independent engineer.
Sorry, surveyor.
Surveyor, excuse me. Thank you. All right, good night, everybody who's concerned with this. Let me write my notes.
Gonna go to court one way or another.
Yeah, let's just get it there. Could do that too.
All right, the next order of business is application IWWC 24-6. The applicant is Michelle Babbage. The location is 139 West Wakefield Boulevard. This is under old business now. My understanding is that there's a letter from the attorney.
Yes, I finally made contact with Ms. Babbage's attorney. He submitted a letter asking for a 65-day extension so he can research the issue and meet with his client before he's going to let us know how she would like to proceed.
Okay? Do they have the time to, have they asked for any previous extensions?
No, they have not. This is the first.
Okay, and they're asking for 65?
The full 65.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'll make a motion to extend the time period for IWWC 24-6 for an additional 65 days for more research into the issue.
Is there a second? Gary, all those in favor of accepting and allowing them the extra time? Frank? Unanimous? Thank you. Next, under old business, application 24-10, John Mills, on behalf of the Sandy Drive 3 LLC at 240 Kingsborough Avenue. We're gonna continue the public hearing, so is there a motion to,
Yeah, we continued it. So we'll table this.
table this motion? Is there a motion? I'll make a motion to table the application until next month. pending the results of the request that the public hearing was made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Next application is John DeCara on behalf of Bob and Jennifer Leach. The number is 24-15. The proposal is to raise an existing building and an existing gravel driveway, construct a 24 by 24 garage, and drive to be covered with pervious pavements, also rebuild existing retaining wall as shown on the pilot plot plan. John, the record, introduce yourself.
Yes, John DeCura, land surveyor, 102 Sunny Ridge Road, Winstead. As explained last time, and as you just read, the plan shows they're going to raise an existing building. They're proposing to put in a 24 by 24 foot garage. It's going to be proposed pervious pavers, but at the request of the town public works, the pervious pavers are only gonna go to the property line, and then asphalt paving from the property line to the street. There's also gonna do some minor, work on the existing, retaining wall that is to, if you're at East Wakefield Boulevard, that's to the left of the new garage.
To the left, looking at it from the street.
Correct.
And say that again, what do they want to do?
They're gonna rebuild the existing retaining wall that's shown there to the concrete steps. The portion from towards East Wakefield Boulevard back to the concrete steps. I believe you have a copy of the revised plan that shows the proposed asphalt paving.
I think you answered all the questions from last month.
Yeah, last month was pretty much the informational side of it. I did get an education tonight, though.
Are there any other concerns on anybody's behalf? Gary?
No.
Is there a motion?
If I might, just a reminder that the motion should include the condition that if and when the encroachment of the the fence and landscape, well, the fence really, reaches the end of its useful life, it should not be put back in place on the town right away. This was discussed last month.
A ZBA issue, or is that a wetland issue?
Well, good question.
Because this is gonna go to ZBA next week.
I don't think that has anything to do with wetlands.
All right, we could do that at ZBA then.
I'm just
Yeah.
asking the
Yeah,
question.
then I'll make it cleaner
It
here.
sounds
Just,
like
just
a
include it,
ZBA.
in worst cases, if it, 5 years or 3 years down the road, it's gotta be replaced, it's all, they don't have to come before us again.
Well, the fence, in order to they would have to, they're gonna gain access to the garage from Wakefield Boulevard straight in.
Correct.
All right, so that part of the fence has to come down.
Right, just
Yeah,
the
they-
small
He
section
made
there.
that note of it,
Yeah.
remove portion of fence.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we can take it up with ZBA, that's fine.
Okay? All right, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve IWWC 24-15 for 348 East Wakefield Boulevard to raise existing building and existing gravel drive, construct a 24 by 24 garage and drive to be covered with pervious pavement, also rebuild existing wall as shown on plot plan. There are no additional conditions.
There a second?
We need a,
What's that?
we need a bond?
Is there a bond?
I thought being a distance from the water protect?
It's close.
$1,000?
Yeah.
Agreement.
Okay, $1,000 bond?
With the condition of $1,000 bond.
All right, is there a second? I didn't hear. Jeff, all those in favor? Unanimous? Okay, John, before you begin, let Jeff know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're easy, man.
All right, next application is 24-18, George Finlayson at 162 East Wakefield Boulevard. The proposal is to remove an old wooden dock and replace it with a new 40-foot by 5-foot aluminum dock and permit existing boat lift. No jet ski.
Just the correction from before, 4 foot
Oh,
wide.
4 foot, I read it
Yeah.
again. Thank you. Thank you. Any concerns?
No.
Is there a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve IWWC 24-18, remove old wood dock and replace it with new 40-foot by 4-foot wide aluminum. Permit existing boat lift only.
Is there a second? Gary, all those in favor of approval? Okay, thank you. Take care, good luck with it.
Just go home, put to bed now.
What's that?
Good night.
All right, the next application is Jim Rollins. Jim, before you go, it's just a formality. 24-20, we'll take it out of order. Maureen Pisano, her application is gonna be tabled. So is there a motion to table?
Jim's up first, right?
Yeah, we'll skip it. Yeah. Is there a motion to table?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table IWWC 24-20 for Maureen Pisano at 148 East Wakefield Boulevard.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of tabling it? It's unanimous. Okay, Jim. 24-19, the applicant is Jim Rollins on behalf of the town. And the location is point location 41-9449 -73.0901, approximately at the intersection of Colebrook Road and Marshall Street.
Old Colebrook Road in Marshalls.
Old Colebrook Road. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so the town is proposing to replace an existing culvert pipe under Old Colebrook Road as part of the repaving plan for that road. The existing pipe was, I think, a 15-inch, and it's undersized compared to the pipe that's coming into it. So we're upsizing from a 15-inch to a 24-inch. So as kind of a rule of thumb, Public Works, if we are just removing and replacing in kind, we typically don't need a permit. And then, since we're upsizing, we do need a permit. And that's kind of what I told you last month. And then as I was reviewing before this meeting, I realized I was maybe a little bit, I misrepresented the scope of the disturbance a little bit with that statement. Because we need to detour traffic around this, this culvert replacement, we would have had to disturb the open stream channel, which we would have had to come to see you about that anyway. So I apologize for misrepresenting that. So there's currently a little stream, not much of a stream. It may dry out during extreme times of year, but it flows mostly all the time. Couple feet wide, a few feet deep, really not very significant. So our plan is to make a detour around that so we can get equipment, materials, and the people that live down that street into and out of their, their street while we're doing the road. The road work is only gonna take a few days, but we can't leave them without ingress and egress. So our plan is to put a pipe in there, probably put down some type of a filter membrane, put a pipe in there to carry the water, fill over it, and then when we're done, remove the pipe and the fabric and keep that naturally, keep the existing situation just like it is. There will be some disturbance, but it'll be pretty minimal. So that's really, the nuts and bolts of it. At last meeting, I promised I would bring you, an erosion control plan. it's, I combined the erosion control and water handling into one. It's really pretty simple. Silt fence below it, you know, with wattles, and the water handling is just gonna be, like I said last month, we'll put a pump at either the outlet of the old pipe or inlet of the new pipe, or even in the other catch basin, depending on how much water we have. And just pump it around the site into a dirt bag or some kind of a stabilized channel. Really pretty simple, straightforward project. But I think, you know, short of leaving it the way it is, which is already causing, you know, deterioration of the road, we kind of have to fix it. So if you have any other questions.
The only question I have is what you just articulated from last month to now, is that in writing as part of?
It is, I think it is part of the narrative.
The disturbance and the process of
Yeah,
closing it up and
let me just
everything?
triple check, but I'm pretty sure it's part of the narrative.
If it is, then I'm good. If
And it was discussed last month to
But-
that effect and is on the record
It
as
is,
well.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you look at, I provided two narratives. I had two plans that I was proposing to you. One was to put a pipe, connect to the existing pipe that comes under Marshall Street, and then permanently just go right through that stream across Old Colebrook Road and discharge. But I took that one out. So if you look at, the approval would be for narrative number 2.
Okay.
That's the one that is written.
Okay, very good.
Just didn't want to disturb any more wetlands than
good.
necessary.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept
Approve.
application.
No,
Approve, sorry. Application IWWC 2419 for the town of Winchester for intersection of Colebrook Road and Marshall Street. Culvert pipe replacement.
And just make a note that it's
Narrative
according to
number 2.
project narrative number 2.
According to project narrative number 2.
Is there a second? Gary? All those in favor of approval? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you very much, Jim.
And being late, I'm not going to stick around for the
Good.
end of the
Good
meeting.
night.
And I'll just catch up with you guys in the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have new business. This is 24-22, Cappy's Corner. You John Carroll?
Yes.
Okay. You want to talk to us, sir?
Sure do. John Carroll, licensed environmental professional, TRC Environmental Corporation, on behalf of Cappy's Cleaner, owned by June Lim. Just would like to walk you through general plan for the remediation of the site. I'll give you a very brief background as well. This is not the first time the remediation at the site has been before this committee. There was remediation done on the interior of the facility back in 2009, and there was approval of that work. The remediation plan has been revised to address the current version of Connecticut's remediation standard regulations, and we're really limited to finishing exterior remediation in the form of excavation in 3 areas of the site. One small area on the northern portion of the property, one on the east side, and a larger area on the south side of the property. I believe you have our figure 5 that shows the areas where the excavation is planned. I'll mention that we are currently in the public notice period for the project that is required under Connecticut's Property Transfer Program, the DEP Property Transfer Program. That's what engaged the need to conduct the remediation from the beginning. When Mr. Lim purchased the property in 2006, there was a Form 3 filed with Connecticut DEP. If you're not aware of what a Form 3 is, it's basically an indication that a release of hazardous waste has occurred on the property, and either party to that transfer accepts responsibility for completing the remediation, completing investigation of the site, and then completing the remediation to render the site in compliance with Connecticut's remediation standard regulations. Mr. Lim accepted that responsibility and then applied for and was granted funding for the project through the Connecticut Dry Cleaning Fund, which is a DEP program, basically adds a premium to any time you take your clothes to a dry cleaning facility, and that money goes into a trust fund that the state then uses to assist dry cleanup at dry cleaning facilities. The contaminant of concern is tetrachloroethylene, PCE. It's basically dry cleaning fluid. There had been a minor release of petroleum inside the facility that was related to an above-ground storage tank in the basement used to supply fuel for the furnace, and that has been adequately addressed, as has been the vast majority of the impacted soil within the building interior. There was some residual PCE that remained in the soil on the interior of the building, and that is addressed through this revised remedial action plan that TRC has prepared. Under the remediation standard regulations, we are allowed to demonstrate that the material that remained beneath the building has been addressed to the maximum extent prudent. That's the language within the RSRs. And what happens with that is that we will ultimately, at the end of the process, apply a land use restriction so that residual soil is recognized as remaining in place, and any future owner of the property is then aware of that existence. And it can't be disturbed, and we also need to demonstrate ultimately that compliance with the standards that apply to groundwater have been achieved as well. So the previous work on the interior is part of the solution to help demonstrate compliance with groundwater conditions. The exterior remediation in the form of excavation that we're planning will also remove the source of potential impacts to the groundwater. However, we look at the historic groundwater data, and the impacts are minimal, to say the very most about it. We've seen good groundwater conditions. At the end of the additional excavation around the exterior of the building, we'll install additional monitoring wells as necessary to complete a sufficient network of groundwater monitoring wells. And then for at least a period of 1 year on a quarterly basis, we'll continue to sample and show a demonstration that the groundwater conditions are also in compliance with the remediation standards.
That's the back area.
South side.
Right, that's not, can you drive through that part or no?
You
I'm trying to
can,
remember.
yes, there's a driveway on the east side that links back to that area behind the building, and there's also access to the Dairy Queen facility
Right.
on the west
So
side.
you can't drive behind it now.
Yes.
So that area will be, it's then sectioned off? Well,
It
you're obviously
will,
gonna
yes,
dig.
absolutely.
Is it a removal of the soil or?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
it
I
would
wasn't
be
sure if it was.
excavation and
Okay.
off-site disposal of the PCE impacted
How close
soil.
would you go to the river there?
I'm sorry?
How close would you get to the river?
We'll get fairly, there's a retaining wall on the south side of the property, and then beyond that retaining wall, topography drops, I'd estimate 18 feet or so down to the riverbank, so it's
That
fairly.
retaining wall is a natural wall or it's a structured wall?
No, it's a structured
Oh,
wall.
okay.
So, yeah, we'll basically begin the excavation on that south side, close to that retaining wall, work northward back towards the building, take it to the depths that are necessary to remove the impacted soil. Follow-up to that is sampling and analysis of soils from the bottom and perimeter of the excavation, to demonstrate we've met the applicable soil criteria. We'll do that sampling and analysis. The analysis of the laboratory will be expedited, so we'll be able to move back in with flowable fill and quickly restore the condition of.
Is there any
that area.
danger that any of the contamination escaped to behind the Dairy Queen?
No, this is a very small parcel. If I remember right, it's 0.13 acres. And I don't know whether you've got our investigation drawing. I think the best term I could use in describing the level of investigation is we turn the site into Swiss cheese through our soil boring program. And we've done a very thorough job of soil sampling and analysis.
So it's
And
limited to basically the property lines?
The shaded areas on
We
figure
just-
5
yeah.
are created from the sampling and analysis that's been performed. Happy to show you a figure from our Form 3 that was also, Phase 3 report that was also submitted as part of the application.
Well, just understand, we haven't even seen the application.
Oh,
You just got it, I have it on my desk now.
Okay,
So
understood.
we haven't, the conversation is just informational, where we haven't had the opportunity to look at it at all.
Okay.
What depth do you think you'd be digging down by the retaining wall? Do you have any idea?
I'm sorry?
What depth do you think you'd be digging by the retaining wall?
The depth adjacent to the retaining wall should be fairly shallow. We're anticipating 2 feet, moving back closer to the building. I'm estimating we'll go as deep as 8 feet. Just to give you some additional background, there's 2 sets of standards that apply to soil at the site. The first is direct exposure criteria. That's basically assesses risk of direct contact. The model is kids eat dirt, and what's their potential ingestion, and what's the acceptable amount in soil for a direct exposure consideration. And the other is pollutant mobility criteria. How much contamination is present in the soil that can leach down and affect the groundwater at the site. The groundwater is classified GB by Connecticut DEP, and what that means is it's known or presumed to be degraded. Okay, it's not considered suitable for a drinking water supply. To make sure there's no risk associated with that above and beyond just the simple classification that DEP has applied, we did a receptor survey as well. We looked at an area roughly 1/2 mile, or I should say exactly a 1/2 mile around the facility. We did a number of different means of evaluating the potential presence of drinking water supply well, windshield survey, local survey, local records, health department records, DEP records, and we found no receptors within a 1/2 mile of the site. And therefore, the GB classification does allow for a slightly less stringent standard than if it were in a GA area where drinking water
How
supplies
much
are.
time do you need from beginning to end with this project?
Well, I have to complete my public notice period, which ends beginning of next week. I need, of course, approval from you folks. After that, getting a call before you dig clearance to add additional safety measure to the call before you dig clearance, which focuses primarily on the utility-owned lines that may exist around the site. In fact, we know where they are already, but by law, we've got to go through that process. In addition to that, we'll do private utility clearance and look for obstructions through our own private ground penetrating radar survey to make sure there are no other risks in terms of utility contact as well.
Once you get all the preliminary
Once
investigation done?
that's done, breaking ground to completion of the excavation, assuming we get good results on our analytical, which we do expect, it's about a week project, to be honest with you,
Just,
for the excavation.
do we
And then
have
we
direct-
follow that with the groundwater monitoring that I
This is direct
described.
disposal?
I'm sorry?
You're loading and disposing, or you're?
Direct load. We do want to, given the dimensions of the site, it does not make sense to stockpile.
You can't.
We'll do direct load and take it
Do you
off-site.
have anything in this report as far as, if you did have groundwater, how are you handling groundwater?
The way the pollutant mobility criteria are applied to the site, it's only the soil above the groundwater table. And at this site,
Let's say if
that
rain-
depth is
if you have
about,
rain, you have an open
well,
flow.
I'll get to that in 1 second. The depth to water is roughly 8 feet. So, to accomplish compliance with the pollutant mobility criteria, we take it to the water table, and we do expect in some areas we'll have to go as deep as 8 feet to meet that criteria. And then, again, water, soil beneath the water table, pollutant mobility don't apply. The direct exposure criteria are a little less stringent as a whole than the pollutant mobility criteria, so I expect that process of achieving pollutant mobility criteria compliance will also accomplish direct exposure criteria. And then, I'm sorry, the next question you had was?
What if you have an event?
Oh,
rain event,
our
you have an open hole?
our plan will be, if we can get your approval and mobilize and complete the project late summer, early fall, which is what we'd like to accomplish and take advantage of the drier period, we would schedule the actual excavation with an extended forecast that's as dry as possible. That would be our planning process and avoid any sort of risk of water coming into the excavation. That only creates greater difficulty in terms of maintaining a stable excavation, getting our samples and getting them through the laboratory. Although we're going to expedite that, there is time involved, and so from a practical standpoint, that'll be our approach for minimizing the risk.
It's pretty interesting how it stopped at a straight line on the property line, huh, contamination?
Well, we didn't see fit to try and do drilling on
CVS.
the riverside, an 18-foot drop. I mean,
Or on the other neighbor's
it
property.
just doesn't.
It's pretty straight.
Not really. I suppose there may be a method for us to have done
Yeah.
that, but
Just so
we've
you're-
got a good handle in 3 dimensions on
Just so you're
the extent
aware,
of the problem.
typically, we accept your application tonight, so we're not gonna rule on it.
Okay.
So that, when you said late summer, early fall, the earliest you could begin would be a month from now in August. Okay.
Understood.
Okay, just-
I know that I need to be back here
Yeah,
for the
okay.
August meeting as well.
One question I had was just thinking about the excavation coming up towards the river, and you said you have about an 18-foot wall. I haven't looked in there closely in a long time. I'm sure that's not the most stable wall.
It's
I
actually
mean,
in
it's-
pretty
it's
good
actually-
shape.
I take that back. My concern is as we're digging up towards it, are we gonna be compromising that wall? Are there any measures? What's that?
It's 2 foot at the wall.
2
Yeah,
foot?
I'm gonna be beginning
2 foot
at the
back
wall
from the wall.
and working
No, 2
back.
feet down.
Okay, I thought you were saying you were 2
No.
feet back and then 8 feet.
No,
That's what
no,
it's- okay, so you-
the
so-
depth of the contamination adjacent to the wall is shallow. The
Right.
deeper excavation.
So as you go back towards the building, that's where you have to go a lot deeper, so it's
Right.
how to ramp
Yes,
Right.
back.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
Shallow digging at the wall.
Wall, okay, I
Then deeper at
misunderstood
the
that now.
foundation.
Now I understand.
Yep,
That's a stone and concrete wall?
Yeah,
yes.
it's
That's
like a
18
big
feet.
culvert. It's like the river there is in a big culvert.
Yeah, that's what I'm visioning, but
Yeah.
like
Well,
18
it's
feet.
overgrown with a lot of
It's
vegetation, I think.
No,
It's
not-
surprisingly
No, pretty clean, because they did the.
Yeah.
significant
they
drop
cleaned
off
that
behind
pond.
that
Yeah,
wall.
well,
Yes.
I'm
yeah.
thinking of it from
When they did
the
the
tributary side,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
they cleaned all
Next
that
time you
out.
go for Dairy Queen, take your ice cream cone back there, look.
I should tell you that we've had very little response during our public notice period so far. The public notice process includes We sent letters to the adjacent property owners and also published the intent for the remediation in the Register Citizen. And one of my delays in getting my remediation plan to DEP was I needed an affidavit of that. Took a little while working through getting my affidavit for public notice. The remedial action plan actually gets submitted to DEP tomorrow, okay? The transfer that occurred in 2006, the Form 3 and Mr. Lim's accepting the responsibility for the remediation, that was the opportunity for DEP to come back to us and say they wanted full oversight and review and approval of every step in the investigation and the remediation process. They did not use that option. Rather, they delegated it to licensed environmental professional oversight. I'm the LEP of record for the site. So ultimately, I prepare this remedial action plan. It's a formality that I submitted to DEP, so it's on record and together with the proof of the public notice. Ultimately, I verify, submit a verification, the site, both soil and groundwater are in compliance. We have all of our post-remediation groundwater monitoring to support that.
When did this public
I put my
notice
stamp on it.
When did this public notice take place?
The public notice has already taken place.
When?
When?
20 years ago or yesterday?
No, the publication in the Register Citizen occurred June 21st, hence 30 days.
Okay.
Ending,
So, Jeff,
beginning of next week.
We don't necessarily have to have a public hearing at this point because one has
The
been conducted
letters,
already?
I think, went out a few days prior to that, to be honest.
I mean, you could have your own process above and beyond what he's required to do with DEP, but
I'll just kind of give you one more piece of information. My verification with my stamp on it at the end, demonstrating compliance. DEP has the opportunity to audit that. I've done at least, I'd say, a dozen different verifications. What typically happens is either they'll call you in for additional information, they'll flat out reject your verification, which nobody wants, of course, or they'll issue a letter of concurrence after a period of their internal review. I'm 12 for 12 on my receipt of a notice of concurrence. And so I've been an LEP since 1998. I've been in the business 37 years. I started at DEP. I don't mean to demean this project as it's important to us. It's important to Mr. Lim, but this one is fairly straightforward. It's got issues we need to pay close attention to. Obviously, the retaining wall. Let me just one second. I'll take a minute to read you one of the excerpts of the introduction of our remedial action plan.
While you're looking for, is it fair to assume that Dairy Queen and CVS are aware of this project?
They both received the letters of the public notice, and I said I had minimal reaction. I got one phone call. The owner of the Dairy Queen property called me. He's very kind, very nice about what was expected. He had a couple concerns. He wanted to know, A, about when we were going to conduct the remediation, what were the locations, what were the depths. I shared him figure 5, which you folks have received. And he was kind enough to offer that during the period that we'll be disrupting the driveway along the east side and the area to the south, that if Mr. Lim would like to have his customers make use of the parking area behind the Dairy Queen, that he'd be more than willing to provide that. So it was quite a nice response, and that's really the only response I've received. Of course, I've got to wait till next Monday to find out if anybody else responds to that, but it's been quiet so far. And yes, the owner of the CVS facility received a letter as well, as did the property owner to the south. and that's required under the RSRs.
To the south, meaning tributary or?
Yeah, let's see, let me get, I do have a note, I think, on what that.
Hey, while you're
So
looking,
Dairy
do we
Queen,
need another public hearing?
CVS, and
I don't believe so.
the.
Jeff, think we need a public hearing? or-
It's
No.
29 Main Street has a leg that extends to the south.
All right, normally with a project like this, we would certainly consider a public hearing, but it would be redundant, I guess, at this point.
I'm sorry?
If we requested another public hearing, a notification sent out, chances are it's gonna be redundant, because that's already been done, and you have documentation from people that acknowledge it and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Okay. Any concerns on your part, Jeff?
No, I mean, this is really being driven by the rules and
State.
regulations of the state, so I don't know what we could add.
Yeah, we've been down this road with you folks before. It was, because we revised the remedial action plan to bring it up to speed with the current regulations, and it was a different area than we had worked on in 2009. We felt it appropriate to submit this application, but it's really just kind of buttoning up the end of the project is
All
where
right,
we're at.
from our perspective, is there anything else we'd like to hear or see from the applicant for next month, or we're pretty satisfied with the presentation?
I'm comfortable with it.
Good?
Take care of that retaining
All right,
wall.
we're gonna accept your application, and the expectation is you're going to be back, or a representative will be back next month.
It will be me.
And so you will be back next month, and we will take a vote on what we've heard, and now we have an opportunity to look at, because like I said, we just found it on our desk today.
Let me ask you a question. In going through the application itself, there were certain parts that was very clear to me that you wanted to see. Again, we provided our Phase 3 report, which was the summary of all our investigation work. I've yet to submit electronically a copy of our remedial action plan. I can give you a hard copy of it today now. I can give you an electronic copy if you want to read through it and understand how we're structuring the additional work. I'd be happy to do that as well. That's up to you. I'll let you decide.
Can you consolidate that into one page? I'm
Well,
serious.
It's already, that I've done.
You know, I'm
There
serious.
is, let me get the description of what it's called. It's a one-page summary that I provided, and it's pretty thorough, so.
Okay,
If
then,
you don't want
you know.
if you don't want the big
No,
detail,
No, that's gonna be part of the record.
Yes.
And, the state and your credibility is on the line, so to speak.
yes.
So, having said that, I don't think it's necessary, so long as we do have some form of a narrative.
Okay.
And that one page would be sufficient.
Okay.
All right, is there a motion to accept this application?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept application IWWC 24-22. The applicant is John Carroll for 57 Main Street, excavation, disposal of contaminated soil.
Is there a second?
Second.
Gary, all those in favor of accepting? It's unanimous?
I thank you
See you
very much.
next month.
And, I thank you very much for all of your patience. Your professionalism and candor this evening have been exemplary in my books.
You're in the minority.
Thank you.
John, even though they don't need, can you please upload those documents into the permit, just so we have it on the record?
Which,
The,
the remedial
photo-
action
yeah,
plan?
yeah.
Be happy to.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, the next application, next new business is Neil McGinnis
And his sidekick.
and his sidekick. And the address is 512 West Wakefield Boulevard. And the request is to install a 10 by 10, I'm gonna say feet, 10 by 10 foot poly dock swim flow, 25 feet offshore on Highland Lake at deeded easement on 504 West Wakefield Boulevard. Introduce yourselves and keep it simple.
Sure. Neil McGinnis, Kathy,
Kathy McGinnis.
512 West Wakefield Boulevard. We relocated here because it's halfway between two of our sons and our grandkids. Love the lake, and we're familiar with the area because we were here every weekend skiing when the kids were young, up at shallow, there's a few deep spots. But one of the things that attracted us to this property several years ago was the fact that it had deeded easement to deep water. And we're excited about that, and it was a major reason for our decision. This application is to put a float so our grandkids can swim around in the deeper water and get out. We have a 6'4", 16-year-old grandson, and he doesn't do too well in 2.5 feet of water. So anyway, we are hoping to get the float out there in deeper water. Part of the reason for the distance is most of the float manufacturers recommend that you put floats in 8 to 10 feet of water. So, you know, if kids dive off, it's kind of why you don't have diving boards in swimming pools anymore. So that's the main purpose. You want to say anything, Malone?
Good.
So 25 feet out brings you into deep enough water?
Gets you about here. It's not 10 feet, but
We won't be encouraging diving, but at least they can swim around in it without standing, so.
Just so you're aware, our ordinance allows you to go out further should you want to. Not indefinitely, what is it, another 10, 15 feet? 50 feet. At no point can you be more than 50 feet from land, so that if the dock spins or shifts,
Yeah.
the furthest point has to be within 50 feet. So I'm not encouraging you to change what you want, but I just want you to be aware, from a safety point of view, that should you...
yeah, if we could go out another 10 feet, I think that'd be great.
That would help.
Yeah.
You know, again, I don't know your waterfront, I don't know where your neighbors are, if there's docks all over the place.
Matt would know.
Yeah.
But this is a deeded waterfront, correct?
Yeah.
So this is not, are we something
It's
similar
not
to?
our waterfront.
What's that?
What?
It's not our waterfront specifically, but we have deeded rights to it.
Oh, so no, it just.
Rights
easement
to-
issue.
Other people have the right to use it?
No.
Oh, just you.
Oh,
Well, I mean,
in the lake, people
Just
pass our
512.
dock
What's
within.
that?
Just them.
yeah,
Just them.
yeah.
I could give you the whole history on the whole thing if you.
No, I was just thinking about Unity Beach.
Well,
Well, there's
so, yeah, that's one of the things. It's an easement, which in 504, West Wakefield already has a swim platform on it. And our regulations only allow one swim platform. The other thing is, this is a cove. It's a small cove, but it is a cove. So, just with,
Our favorite thing lately.
The platform out of the property, 504, went in last week after our application came in, just
it was
saying.
permitted it came in May,
Okay.
and it was approved last month, so.
Well, maybe we could go back a little bit further. The gentleman in 504 bought that house. It was on the market at the same time as 512. So both houses were on the market. He looked at our house, was totally familiar with the easement, and selected the other house where the easement is.
For lots of good reasons.
He immediately put in the second dock 18 feet from the easement.
But he was aware.
That's not correct.
We flagged our easement, and he was, as soon as we bought it, and he was aware before he put in the permit for his dock, but he put it in very, very close. So it just makes it all very difficult to use our deep water at all. And it's one of the reasons we bought our house. So, not to get into another neighborly situation
Well,
that we lived
that's
through
what we're
this
here
evening.
for.
Yeah, oh, God. Not to get into that, but we would like at least to have the rights, the deeded rights.
Their application with their deeded area as a standalone, regardless of the fact that 504 is maxed out with what they can put in the water, we should look at their easement area all by itself for what they can put in. So of course, the littoral boundaries come in, the shorefront coverage, all the same stuff, but just for that particular area.
Did
Oh,
we
that's great.
deny an application for a dock on this property a year or so ago? Because
I understand that.
for it, it's just, we do have some restrictions of what we can and can't do.
You know, part of the problem with you coming before us now, where we just, as I told the gentleman before you, this appeared on our desk tonight. So none of us had the opportunity to really look at it, read through it, you know, have a good understanding, or even visit the property, because it was a, sort of an add-on to the agenda. We pick up our agendas usually Thursday, usually Friday night or Saturday for the weekend. So yours was submitted after that pickup, so to speak? At least I think.
Not by them, by
By us,
staff.
yeah.
They were in on time,
But we
for
didn't get it.
the weekend packet, but
Yeah.
we omitted it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so.
Erroneous.
But your reading was that it should just be looked at as, and then we can get into the.
Yeah,
weeds at another
that's
time?
the attorney's opinion, correct?
Well, why don't we do this so that we're clear with our application? We'd like the application to be as submitted with 25 feet for a float. Next year, maybe we ask if we can replace the float with a dock, but right now, let's put the
So
application.
you wanna stay with what's in front of us?
Yep.
Okay,
Keep it simple.
okay, do we have a motion to accept this application?
I get my,
Go ahead.
can't, so it's fine for somebody, somebody that has a deed, or has access to the water, a right of way to the water, to pull a permit for something in the water.
The application has to be signed by the property owner.
No.
I think that's what
Yeah.
it said.
Before I accept, I'm just trying to get,
We went through that over the past couple of years.
I think I saw something that,
Jeff, how are you interpreting?
I had a discussion with Nelligan, and, you know, I read through that, but I didn't commit it to memory. But basically, if these folks have an easement to the property, to then further require the owner of the property to sign off on an application would make their easement null and void, because they wouldn't be able to access it.
This is a slippery slope right here, because if you've got 100 feet of waterfront and you wanna give 4 easements, somebody could put 4 docks on it, according to this, how you're.
Well, they'd have to have enough shorefront, sure.
If I said they had 100 feet
Oh,
of that.
right,
If
right.
you had 100 feet and you split it, you gave 4 25-foot easements, they could all put out 5-foot walkways.
But this isn't an easement, it's deeded.
I
Based
could
on-
ask Attorney Nelligan to issue a memo specific to this situation, so we're not, you know, applying and interpreting.
Can somebody with an easement pull a permit for something in the water? I don't have an answer.
In
to
front of
that.
their easement area.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe-
know, I don't have an answer to
maybe
that.
by comparison. I'm not sure of the language, the right of way or the easement that, in that Unity Cove, Gonzalez
Right.
put in for, is that different than this easement, or what it is, or you don't know?
That's what this
I don't
one is
know.
pertaining to,
Gonzalez,
isn't it?
Gonzalez,
This is a
That-
Gonzalez bought that piece.
I can't hear you, Gary.
Gonzalez bought that piece.
Right,
His lawyer said he owned it, so what he put in for, he owned the property.
but we,
What
Wait.
the neighbor put in for the mooring balls out there, they had the easement, they have a right of way to it, and they got the right to put the mooring balls on.
yeah, but we
But we
also,
never confirmed that, did we?
Well, there's one that was confirmed.
but we,
One that's
no,
legal.
that was,
Okay.
Long time
there was
ago.
a convoluted story as to how that evolved. But we denied Gonzalez
Put a dock
to
in.
put a dock in there.
of the other people that have the right of way to use the
Well,
private.
that's an interpretation, yeah. All right, can you talk to Kevin on
Yeah.
this specific, so we can act objectively?
Absolutely.
All right, we're gonna accept your application on face value, and we're gonna get a lawyer's opinion, and,
We want to accept it, or is, I'm sorry,
I mean,
or table it?
Well,
No,
I think
we
we
can
have to
accept
accept that. And then, but, I mean, at bare minimum, to stay consistent, we should have the littoral boundaries.
yeah, well, if it's incomplete, that we need more information, which you're saying it is, because I didn't open it yet.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's, yeah.
All
I
right,
mean-
so to meet with Jeff, look at the issues that Jeff will raise and Matt just raised one with the littoral boundaries, so he can make copies, or you can make copies and give it to us with our next package. And the other thing I would suggest is talk to Jeff prior to him talking to Kevin Nelligan, the town attorney, so that he has a clear understanding very specifically as to what you want to do on this particular easement piece of property, and see if we're within our rights to allow you to do it or not allow you to do it. Okay?
Okay.
All right, it's not what you wanted to hear.
Nope.
But again, you know, we have to be somewhat, not somewhat, we have to be consistent.
Well, let me say this.
Go ahead.
Kathy, I really appreciate you guys and lady taking the time away from your family and doing this.
We're doing this
And
every,
while I just want to have a float for my grandkids.
No, we understand that.
We understand.
thank
We're
you.
not minimizing it, we just want to be on solid ground that what we do is appropriate.
And we thought we
see
were
what-
solid
yes.
ground
We can
when
see
we
what
got a
kind of
deed of
issues,
easement.
Yeah.
we can see what kind of issues
To
can
specifically do
resolve.
these things.
What's that?
I said, we thought we were on solid ground when we got a deed of easement to specifically do these things.
No, I
Well, you may be, you
Yeah,
know.
we don't know.
I do have a motion to accept this application,
I would,
Frank?
yes, I'll make the motion for, sorry. IWWC 2423 at 512 West Wakefield Boulevard for the easement area for a 10-by-10 poly swim float, 25 feet offshore, in the deeded easement of 504 West Wakefield Boulevard.
Second.
Thank you.
All those in favor of accepting?
Thank you.
Okay.
gentlemen,
Okay,
lady.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you
McGinnis?
for waiting tonight.
Both of you spend some time talking to Jeff,
We will.
so that when he talks to Kevin Nelligan, he knows what you're telling him. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Good luck.
Good night. Okay, you know what, I'm looking at the rest of the agenda,
Over the night.
What's this one here?
I see something,
147 West. This is.
Oh.
They have warnings.
Yes.
right, you know, most of this stuff we've heard. Is there anything urgent that changed, Jeff?
I think the only things I'd like to bring to your attention are both under warnings. 262 Pertrock Trail, not really a big deal. The new owners were expanding their dock. I found out they're going to be coming in with a permit or a permit application to get that all taken care of. A little more problematic might be 147 West Wakefield Boulevard. They are replacing a patio, doing a retaining wall. They didn't pull any permits. This is similar with, they're telling me they're pervious pavers, but there's no engineer on the job to what, like we had last time. So at least I have a little background now to work through it better. To complicate this a little bit more, there is a town water line that runs through the bank where the retaining wall is. So I've had Jim out on site with me, and we're working with the.
This is on the waterfront?
It's on the other side of the street, so it's not right on the water.
How far away from any upland review or no?
Just outside. When I snapped a line like 104.
That's terrific.
But yeah.
Right, Matt?
Actually, or?
Just before we
Well,
go,
there's
Wasn't it
erosion
this
control
now?
and then the pervious pavers being in Highland District, so a couple weird little caveats.
Going back to Perch Rock.
Yes.
The house that we looked at a year ago, that where they had to restore the water course by the pump station.
Oh, that was referenced tonight, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not aware of that, but,
Well, as part of the approval, they were supposed to restore the water course because they had put materials in the water course when this property was started.
okay.
The house is almost done, they're doing the restoration of the lawns and everything, and that water course has got a lot of phragmites. So according to their permit, they're supposed to clean that out to Perch Rock.
Okay, do you know the address offhand, or?
262 or something like that. It's the gray house by the sanitary pump station, as you come in off Wakefield.
Yeah, it's right by, right the pump station.
It's
The
here,
water course
second or
ends at
third
the
on the
pump
left.
station.
There's two of them, there's all three of them. The first one's on the left, when they pull in, there's work going on.
Just one order of business that and I mentioned it to Jeff privately. 308 East Wakefield Boulevard, it's in that cove where this gentleman, his house and his waterfront has been in violation for, it's gotta be 4 or 5 years now.
Slimy or whatever.
Slimy or slimy, or whatever it is. My suggestion to Jeff, and I just wanna put it out there, is just tell the guy that if we don't get some paperwork with how he wants to satisfy this commission and remedy the situation, then I'm gonna suggest that we authorize Nelligan or somebody to write him a letter telling him to take out what he put in illegally. I just don't wanna carry it on the agenda anymore.
You've been more than patient.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's
The one thing
playing
you have to know.
with our heads,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, so.
He's hoping it goes away.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Gary, second. Jeff, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, I think. Thank you.
What are we gonna do? You're gonna bring an application next week, next month? For this guy?
Yeah, they're gonna have to. We're, like I said, we're working through it, as you see from the pictures that just happened. So, yeah.
That's a pretty big project for somebody to.
Right, you know, it started, they were cutting trees down, and I saw the company that was doing it, I've dealt with them before, and I was okay with that, I didn't even stop. I should have, because the scope of work was much more than that. And it was a different company, a different firm working on it now.
I'm working on the retaining wall.
The walls and the pavers, yeah, the hard.
Is that a company that does a lot of work at the lake now normally, or did you recognize?
No, Jesperson is the,
I
he's
mean,
out
I'm
of
just
Goshen.
surprised people like not thinking they need
Yeah.
a permit for anything.
And the homeowner was in our office 2-3 weeks ago, talking to us about a shed. Never mentioned anything about this project.
The 147